We are in, we are on, we are live. Everyone, welcome. Let's have a look and see if everything's working out okay. Okay, great. Everything's on by the looks of things. Everyone's having a discussion before I even get in. There's chatting about rugby, there's chatting about wristwatch checks, and so cool. Hi, everyone. Good evening, morning, afternoon. It's been a crazy few days of putting Proots, nice to see you. Hi, everyone. Let me try and get to all these comments. Hans, Phil, William, Lawrence, Mark P. Great to see you all here. So cool. Clive is on. Carlos. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the show. We're going to be chatting about steel sports watches today. I think it's a perfect time because of what was launched this week and the controversy that spanned from it. So I did a little bit of redesigning, which we'll be looking at just now. So let me know if you can hear me okay and if you can see everything fine. Just comment one in the chat and let's get this thing on the road. So the way it's going to work tonight is I've got a catalog from Watches of Knightsbridge once again, which is insane because they have a new auction coming up the 16th of November. So we're going to be browsing through this, but then also doing what we normally do and just riffing through all sorts of other watches as we go. Blue-Shirt Buddha, Scottish Watches, welcome everyone. Tin Mosso, Neo, the gang is here. Welcome. Talking about rugby, there was lots of discussion about rugby in the chat. Has everyone been enjoying it? That was quite an amazing game today. Really, congratulations, England. They did so well. It was unbelievable. Really enjoyed the game. I was thinking it was going to be very even, but in fact, yeah, I mean, it's a pity that they made England made New Zealand look like rank amateurs, which is quite mind-blowing. Hell of a game. Brilliant coaching. Anyway, if you want to talk about rugby, we can do that as it goes. Let me just bring something up for everyone to look at as I run through the comments. Steel sports watches. That's the discussion today. So it's going to be a lot of fun. The nice thing about the Watches of Knightsbridge catalog is that they have everything. And as you can probably see on the screen, I'll just full screen this. We've got APs, we've got Nautiluses, we've got the whole deal. I love it. You can go online, go onto watchesofknightsbridge.co.uk or .com, and you can download the brochure. It's a free PDF, and that's too cool. I love scrolling through this. There's like 165 pages that we were going through, looking at all sorts of watches, but I want to try and keep it in the sports watch category today because we're going to be discussing the Lange Odysseus. It's a watch that's been up and around, and everyone's been talking about it. And I made a little audio file about it earlier this week. But this watch needs to be addressed a bit more. I've had a bit more time to think about it, and yeah, I also did some redesigning that you might enjoy. So yeah. Should we start with that? Just running through the redesign first. Let's just look at the watch in general again, one more time. It's been done to death. I mean, there's been lots of criticisms on this piece overall. And I mean, what I enjoy and what I specified in the audio file was that I like the idea that they've kept their styling, very classical, kept that family of watch going. They're very much keeping to the Lange roots. But there's a few issues with the lugs and the integration of the bracelet. I think that could have been improved in a few ways, and I kind of addressed that in the redesign. Also, just looking at the bracelet itself, could it not have been better? So I'm just looking at the comments as everyone's chatting here. Should have called it the Bogan. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I don't know. It's for the price, who the hell can afford one of these things? Go Rolex, go Omega, and just have a blast. I don't know why anyone would want to buy a sports watch of this price. Anyway, what's everyone's poison tonight? I am having a double shot of coffee, water, and a Pinot Noir, or for the cultured members of the audience, that's a Pinot Noir. So I'm not drinking whiskey tonight. I'm drinking wine. So. It's a gorgeous, I mean, the movement, it's a work of art. These watches are always works of art. But how they addressed it has rubbed people the wrong way. in a few places, because it's, again, when people think sports watch, they don't think classical, you know, and that's what they're kind of questioning with their idea. Okay, so let's bring up the so-called redesign. I was just playing around. I kid you not, there was a comment on the community post I just left about the stream saying, I'd love to see your ideas about a redesign. So I just, like half an hour ago, just pulled these images together and just made something. So this is kind of how a design person would walk through the process. You're basically seeing a little step-by-step process of how I, called iterations, basically came up with different ideas of concepts. So on the right-hand side, we see the original watch. And on the left-hand side, you'll see the modifications in a few places. So this should be quite cool. I'm just going to try and keep my eyes on the chat. Clive is in full force. We had enough wines last night. Oh, geez, yeah, let's not talk about that. You're just going to sit back, relax, get something good to drink, and enjoy the show. Might be 2 hours, might be 3 hours. You must remember that time is going back an hour in the UK. So this, you know, we might have to add an extra hour onto this whole discussion. Let's have a look what Tin Moser says. If you want me to answer a more direct question, if you can just tag IDGuy in, it'll be a lot easier for me to read. If you have any questions, it's very hard for me to like follow. And another thing, please repeat your questions if you would like any, because the chat just scrolls up like mad. How do I make those images? I should put tutorials. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to reveal my secrets. Magician never reveals his secrets, but yeah, it's just hours and hours of graft and practice and knowing how to use a program to your will. Okay, so let's have a look at these two watches, or this watch. So we look at this first piece. What I did with this slight adjustment was to just bring the bracelet in a little bit, because this is kind of strange. Seeing how the end link joins with the bracelet is been a questionable thing that many have been talking about. It's bizarre. It's a very strange choice. And the big issue that everyone's discussing is just how the lugs, which I kind of like. I like the idea that the lugs are a part of the Lange design. You can see by the lugs that it is a Saxonia designed watch. But yeah, so I just played around with a few ideas. So I'm just going to keep flowing. And there's a mention about Hans, stick to dress designs. Yeah, that's what I agree with as well. They should stick to dress watches. Lange is known for their dress watches. You know, I don't know why the sports watch craze has jumped up, but you know, everyone wants to make money at the end of the day. So on the right-hand side is the original, and the left is the modified. Now we jump over. I decided to put it on a leather strap just to see what it might look like. Blue leather strap, and it doesn't really appeal to me much. I don't know about you guys. I'm just drinking my coffee while I'm doing this. So on the leather strap, it really doesn't appeal to me in the slightest. I'd be interested in knowing what you guys think. I think the lugs kind of, and again, it's also, when you look at the crown guard pushes, it kind of sticks out and doesn't really blend very well. You know, it's very chunky and a little bit out of place. Okay. So now we move on to the next step, which was me just playing around with bracelets. So we see the standard bracelet that they've incorporated. I threw on a Rolex Oyster bracelet, and I'm interested in hearing your thoughts about that, because that was quite a cool. That was the first thing that came to mind. If you have a complicated dial, why not simplify it with a simplified bracelet? Looks kind of strange still, and I think that is down to just the way the lugs are 90 degrees. You know, there's no taper. And because of that, it looks like it's just been thrown on. You know, it's difficult to justify. It's almost like when it looks like this, it almost seems kind of clumsy. You know, it's very blocky, very thought around. I'm just pumping myself full of coffee to get this stream going. Blue rubber strap to Moser, I agree. I think blue rubber would look cool. But again, it's the whole idea of the strap option. The leather, just a strap in general. Maybe if it was integrated, if the strap was integrated, it would look quite cool. But as it stands, I don't know. It gets a lot better. I'm going to keep rolling through these. There's a couple more images that I edited. So there's the oyster bracelet. I think it looks quite nice and simple. Next thought was Speedmaster bracelet. And this looks even better. I kind of like the polishing in the center. It looks quite clean. But again, it's those lugs, those squared off lugs that are, difficult to get your head around. Drinking coffee and talking watches. That's it, Dan. Thanks for joining, Carlos. Yeah, it's cool. I'm just throwing ideas out there. It gets a lot more crazy. You'll see just now. I start editing the dial and doing this. Let's see, Scottish watches. The watch sells with alternate straps. Okay, that's cool. Glad about that, because I think the bracelet would turn off a few people. But it does look pretty good. We'll get to some images afterwards. So the Speedmaster bracelet looks quite nice. I like the alternate polishing and brushing. It looks interesting. Once again, it's a simple bracelet with a more complicated face. Okay. Then we jump to IWC bracelet. This looks like a more German-inspired bracelet design. I have a feeling that this would have looked a lot better if they had thought their way through of making the bracelet, the links of the bracelet a lot smaller and integrating it in. This would look quite nice. What do you think? I'm interested in hearing your thoughts about that. IWC, this is one of their favorite bracelets that they incorporate with their pieces. I kind of like that idea. Maybe adjusting the size of the links themselves would make a difference. The links are quite wide on this model, but yeah, interesting, strange. This is just me throwing ideas together. I'd remove the complication. Okay, here we go, Tinwell. It's going to get interesting in a second. Thomas Burnett's in the house, everyone. The true watch enthusiast of all live streams. He's such a boss. Rich Buddy, I'll be addressing that as well. For a sports watch, doesn't it need crown guards? I actually removed the crown guards just now. But anyway, trying to stick. So I like the German approach of this bracelet. I think it looks a little bit more Deutsche in the way it looks. Next, I just go for broke and I just throw it on a Audemars Piguet integrated case and bracelet. It looks very strange, but kind of cool, because this is what they're trying to mirror. This is what everyone wants. So why not just give them that option? Looks quite interesting. I think it looks quite retro, futuristic. But again, it's just like, if they had to do this, imagine the repercussions. Anyway, so the AP bracelet I kind of stick with for the rest of this, because I think it looks quite clean, quite interesting. A nice blend of bits and pieces. And then we start playing around with the Daniel Wellington logo. Thank you, Dominio Crucio. Mark P, I'll be addressing that now, because I do play with the day and the date in a second. I start playing with the design. So I stick with the AP bracelet. Again, I have to say again that this took me half an hour before the stream, because there was a question about me looking at this in more detail. Thomas Burnett, Crappy Luxury, nice to see you here. Anyway, so we've got the AP bracelet, and now we start jumping to the dial designs. Now keep an eye on the right and the left. Quite a big change. Now, this probably won't appeal to a lot of people, as this is, once again, just throwing ideas to the dartboard and hoping that something works. And I thought, okay, let's try offset the sub-second and put the date at the 4 o'clock position, maybe. Get rid of the day and just keep the date offset. And then play around with what Lange has done in the past with the Saxonia double batons, which they love doing. They're very keen on doubling up on batons at the quarters. So I thought that would be cool. Again, this is just me shuffling ideas around. There's no real thought that went into this. I also replicated the crown guards on the other side, just for fun, just to see what it would look like. A little bit strange, I'll admit. Kind of has a bit of a nautilize effect. But the offset, I think, is cool. Kind of like a Patek 5712 in a way, I thought that would be quite a nice idea. But then in the back of my mind, I thought, well, Lange's more about symmetry. And that's where we change it a little bit. So next step is a little bit more even. This is what Mark mentioned, actually. Let's see. I'm just looking at the comments. Neville, I will pull up at the very beginning of the stream. I spoke about the leather strap. I'll go all the way to the top again and show you just now. Okay, so now what I've done is taken the date and the day complication and brought it down, scaled it down a little bit, shrunk the size of the subdial, made it a little bit more symmetrical, and kept the wings on either side. Kind of interesting, kind of strange. It's very bizarre. I mean, let's be real. What am I doing? I'm just playing around with ideas. And then I got rid of the crown guards altogether. Kind of a bit more Lange-ish approach. I don't know, the whole idea of the pusher crown guard, a bit strange. Takes a little bit of getting your head around. So I just thought, let's try and streamline it as much as possible. And this is pretty much where I left it. I didn't really go any further with the layout. And this was the so-called end-all, be-all presentation. I love the finishing. I mean, you just see the lugs are badly spaced and everything. Once again, it's just a throwing in of ideas. Scottish watches. I wonder if you could actually get the day date that large font would get in the way. I'm sure it probably would get in the way of itself, that's for sure. I'm pretty sure the way they've spaced it is because just the lack of space and the fact, if you've seen the movement, the way the wheel orientates itself is kind of strange. So I'm sure there's a couple of technicalities that they had to work around. This is, again, it's a concept. So it's, with most things, the concept then dictates how could we then build the mechanics around it. Anyway, so this was the end result. And just to bring it back together again. So quite a change, quite a jump between these two watches. And yeah, it's by no means perfect. I mean, geez, if I just pull back to the beginning again, we can just run through this one more time before looking at other stuff. First thing I did was bring in the bracelet, taper it in a bit. Second was just throw it on a leather strap, as mentioned. Just looking at the comments. Thank you, Mark P. It's cool. Jean-Claude Beaver, nice to have you here, sir. And Carlos, do you think they made the guards because of the pushers, or the pushers because of the guards? They made the guards because of the pushers. The pushers are the integral part that basically helps change the day or the date on the fly. So I don't think it was the other way around. The oyster bracelet looks quite cool, but it just doesn't feel Lange, This is just the thing in the back of our minds. It just doesn't feel like a dress watch, what they should stick to, So it's strange. And then we have the Speedmaster bracelet again. I think the Speedmaster bracelet works quite nicely. It's nice and smooth. Once again, my rationality is that when the dial is complicated, you want to simplify it by emphasizing a simpler bracelet instead of a more complicated bracelet. And then this is the IWC one more time. Just looking at the comment, James. I see a lot of Richemont design in, Lange Zone. Dial element from a GLC Polaris, bracelet influence from Breguet Marine. Yeah, it does have a bit of Breguet. I must say, the whole lug format dial, it's interesting. It's interesting design. It doesn't sit with me that well, but at the same time, I like that they're bringing the modern and the classical in together. And just for everyone who's joining, the left-hand side of the watch is the watch that I modified, just playing around with the dial architecture, the placement of the subdials. So it was fun, just a fun little exercise for about half an hour, just me playing around with format and layout. So it's pretty cool. I kind of enjoy the watch. I can't say that it's going to be a hot seller. Oops, I always bring up Google Chrome. I can't say it's going to be a popular watch in the community. Don't know, it's hard to tell. For that price, you're talking about a lot of money for a steel sports piece. So anyway, just trying to keep up with the chat. Ulysses not done. Yeah, it does kind of have that feel to it as well. I don't know. Can't put your finger on it. It's a very peculiar looking shape and styling. Anyway, so I think that's a good way to start the discussion, just talking about this creature. And Scottish watches, you guys phrased it so well, saying Greek tragedy. What was the line? Please drop the line in again in the chat for everyone to see, because it was something along the lines of, is it a Greek tragedy or whatever else? A very good play of words. On the wrist, it does look good. I think it does look really nice. I mean, let's be real. It does look awesome. It does. Once again, the whole thing that I like about it is that it keeps Lange & Söhne in the way they present themselves. It doesn't deviate away and try and just go radical with, brushed bezels and nautilizing or gentrifying the piece. Yeah, but the bracelet is what's getting on everyone's mind. No one really knows what makes it. Anyway, so we're going to jump out of this. Please, by all means, if you want to look up some pieces, give me some suggestions and I'll pull them up. But we're going to be sticking with watches of Knightsbridge. And one watch that really hit me the other day, check this out. As I was paging through a man and his watch, one watch that really stuck out to me was Francis Chichester's Rolex. I think they don't know the reference exactly. They think it's a 1003 or a 1007. He basically wore this as he toured around the globe, as he sailed around the globe in the 60s. And I just love the dial. I'm not such a fan of the turned bezel, but the dial itself, I think those numerals and everything just look so clean. It's such a pretty looking watch. So let's have a look. I'm going to pull this away, open up Watches of Knightsbridge, and I'll just be looking at the comments while I do this. I need to keep up this chat. See, Fortis F43 have a gander. Looks familiar. Let's have a look. Thank you for the suggestion, Scottish Watches. Fortis. Can't say I know the brand very well. So it's got a bit of Flieger in it. It's got a bit of, oh, wow. We even have the day-date complication. That's interesting. Wow. So this is obviously not a new thing. Geez, give me a good picture, people, please. This is obviously not a new styling choice that they went with. And again, you can just see that the way the date windows have been arranged. I'm pretty sure the inside window will be for the day and the date will be on the outside. Interesting. You guys have got a good eye. Thank you for mentioning that. That's a strange looking piece. 12-hour watches. Good to see you here. It's awesome. Just keeping up with the chats as this goes. There is a bracelet version. Let's have a look. Where can I find it? I'll just type in bracelet, maybe. Might help. Oh, wow. Check that out. Oh, geez. Give us a big picture, people. Well, it's nice and pixelated, but we get the idea. Wow. I don't know. I mean, it looks IWC-ish. Very interesting, though. It's cool. Kind of like it. I don't know so much about the offsetting of the day and the date. It kind of looks a bit jarring, but, you know, pretty cool looking piece. It's fascinating seeing how these brands all navigate. Fortis chronograph. Pretty cool. Nice and legible, as someone mentioned, as Paul mentioned. Okay, so please, as I'm going, give me some suggestions for watches to look at with regards to just steel sports. Actually, this is what I want to keep as the subject today. Talking about crowned king of steel sports watches. What do we justify as the crowned king? Not talking about, you know, Rolex having the crown and everything else. I just want to know your ideas about what you think, you know, in the chat, engage about ideas about what you think justifies one of the best steel sports watches around. Craft and Tailored in the house. Good to see you. I'm sure it's Cam that's watching. Everyone, check out Craft and Tailored. New channel on the platform, and their stuff is great. Love the discussions about their vintage pieces. So I'm just following the chat as we go through. VC Overseas Gentry art done. I freaking love the latest. I made a video a while back about Vacheron and the Overseas line. And it's amazing seeing their step-to-step development over the years, how they started with, you know, the 222 and then the Gen 1, or this might be a Gen 2. I don't know. I'm not that well versed. But seeing how this design basically led to the more recent piece, it's amazing. And just out of interest, when we look at this design, we look at the new Chopard Alpine. The first thing that came to mind when I saw it, basically, I wanted to say we have a new Vacheron Overseas in the house, because you look at that bracelet and see how the bracelet's centered, and we jump to what the Alpine looks like. Oi, I don't know what they were thinking with the Alpine, but it's strange. Cheetown, good to have you here, sir. Thank you so much for the super chat. That is awesome. Anyway, so I want to look at Vacheron because I love the Overseas. I think it's such a charming piece. Clive mentioning that's a Gen 1. Well, this Alpine is definitely not a Gen 1. But it's just cool. I think this approach was interesting. And then they jump to such a stunning series of pieces. This whole format of blending the calatrava cross into the layout of the piece. Let's see if we can find something better, a better image. I think the chronograph is just one of those pieces that just is a perfect everyday watch. Vaughan Atkinson is one of the followers of this page. He has one of these, and it's one of his daily wearers, and he absolutely loves it. It's too cool. The thing is, in the back of my mind, I look at the way the bracelet integrates with the styling of the case, and I can see it rubbing people the wrong way, that it's just too much. There's a little bit too much emphasis on the Maltese cross in places, on the bezel, the way the case integrates with it. But I think as a styling that follows through, it's quite interesting. Interesting piece. And the one watch that really stands out to me, there was a mention about the GMT. The GMT is also one of my favorites. I think the GMT is special. Has that, and again, what they've managed to do with this is keep it very much, let's see, what's a good picture? Let's stick to this. Keeps it very much in its tool. It has a tool aesthetic to it, as well as being just an excellent everyday wearing piece. And I'm sure many have speculated, but I think these watches are going to be in high demand because, you know, they're the only ones that can really be found nowadays. You look at APs and Pateks, they're just not around anymore. So value for money, everything else, I think these are gorgeous watches. I love the GMT. And the one to really look at is, I think it's actually up for sale at the Phillips auction at the moment. This is a one-of-one piece prototype given to Corey Richards, who is a photographer for National Geographic. I was following him a while back. They gave him this watch. He was one of their ambassadors. Gave him this watch to take up Everest, I think this year, mid-year. And stunning looking watch. I love the titanium. I love the orange highlights and accents. A really nice character. Let's see if we can find some more pictures. What I don't understand is why this watch is going up for auction now, because it's not like it's, you know, if it lived 30 years and then went up for auction, I'd understand, but the watch has literally only been around for about a year. Anyway, let's see, looking at the chat, the Blue Dial VC Overseas, the Hulk will reign supreme once this, yeah, I'm sure the Hulk will get some serious attention, like the Kermit is, just Rolex in general. Their sports watches, it's crazy. The one side, you know that they're not, I mean, they're brilliant watches. Let's not kid ourselves. But it's very hard to justify the prices that they're going for nowadays, and just the secondhand market and the demand. There's so much behind it. It's an interesting subject to study, though. I mean, it's a hell of a cool thing to talk about. Anyway, so I love this Vacheron Overseas. I think the orange, it just brings back memories of the 1655 Explorer 2 that I love so much. So I'm going to follow. There's another question. There's Pam 620. Let's have a look. Me and Panerai. It's one thing I need to study. So please keep riffing ideas. I love to hear more questions and comments about this. That's cool. I love how clean it is. Very, very nice. I mean, it's the whole rise and fall of Panerai, however we want to address it, something well worth discussing in the future. I'd love to do a video about it, running through all the different references. I'm sure I will be. I think their designs are really something because, you know, that cushion case is so iconic, legibility-wise, easy to read, great, simple, easy to understand. And the styling, if they brought the size of the case down, it would be nice to see if they actually toned down the piece a bit with its size. Oh, come on, give me a high-res picture, please. Do me a favor. There we go. If they toned down the size of this piece just a little bit, I think it would appeal to a broader audience. I don't know. Just looking at these comments. Auctions, perceived value. Yeah, that's it, Reed. Thank you for joining, Reed. Cedar Canoe, nice to have you here. Hans. Carlos, opinion of the Breguet Marine on a rubber strap. Breguet Marine, we looked at it, I think, a couple of episodes ago. It is a interesting watch. One thing that I've always said when I look at it is I very much like what's a good picture? That's quite nice. When we look at Lange and Sohne and how they've managed to follow the design through with their pieces, I think Breguet manages to do something similar with their sports line. And the fact that they keep the lugs very much to the Breguet styling, the screws on the lugs, the format, the numerals, the Breguet hands, it's interesting. I don't know, I think of it more as something like a character study. I don't know if they really take it seriously or if they are just trying to just play around and experiment, because I don't know, on one hand it's very much a dress, Breguet is the dress watch. Love the fact that they keep the coin edging with all of their pieces. Very nice character to them. But just the choice of using Romans with the loom inside, I don't know, it's very strange, it's very iffy. It's not a piece that appeals to the majority because it is a bit bizarre. But for someone who is a die-hard Breguet fan, I think it would appeal. I love the blue. Blue watches, any kind of watch that goes into the water that's a sports watch, blue is great. Anyway, I'm reading the rest of the comments. I'm going to try and keep up. I love the fact that the live comments scroll, so you miss half of them. Google Moser Pioneer center seconds. That sounds cool. Thank you, Scottish Watches. Moser Pioneer. Moser has some ridiculous stuff. The thing is, I would love to discuss these brands, but again, it's down to who would be interested in watching. And if a channel manages to get a lot of presence on the platform, then you're able to. I kind of like the sub-seconds more actually. Let's see. This has got a tourbillon. Come on, give me some high-res stuff, people, please. This is what I don't understand. The higher end the brand gets, the harder it is to source good pictures. It's unreal, actually. So, I mean, are they considering this, let's say, entry-level sports watch for H. Moser? That's amazing, right? But again, like it's too much of a dress watch. That's what you think about the second you see it. I'm just following through the comments if I can keep up. Oh, and there's a turning bezel. Sorry, guys. I forgot about that. I should just mention bezel on the chat. There we go. How cool is that? That has my attention. I'm sure I've seen this before. I'm sure I've seen this watch before. That's interesting. I think Tim discussed this. Tim Mosso had a whole segment when he was handling these pieces. That is quite cool because you're taking the concept of a dress watch, adding a bezel, pretty sick. I like the fact that they faded it, gave it a bit of ghosting. It looks awesome. I kind of like the idea. I'm not so much of a fan of the simple polished bezel, but I think just a standard 60-minute counter is quite nice and clean. Let's see the rest of the comments that's going on. Yeah, Tim did the exclusive. Yeah, I remember him handling this. The dials are really something attractive, and I think that the thing that kind of bothers me with these kinds of watches is that the dials being this reflective, it kind of negates the idea of it being a quote unquote tool watch, because it feels more like a dress watch when you look at it. So you've got this kind of clash between tool and dress. But the ghosting of the bezel looks quite nice. It's seldom you see that on a piece. And I think they try to do that to sort of emulate the whole effect of having a polished bezel. Quite clean. But these Moser pieces are insane. I'd love to do a full-on discussion about these in the future. Amazing pieces. Let's have a look. My accent is so satisfying. Jugas Naut. Interesting name. Opinion on the Rolex Explorer 2. Okay, let's do that. And there's a JLC Polaris date. I'll pull that up just now. Rolex Explorer 2. Okay. Let's have a look. How can I start this discussion? I'm sure many of you know by now that the 1655 for me is, I always think about this watch. I don't know, it's always in the back of my mind. It's always a talking point. I always think about how best could I address this. And I always say, it's not so much a sports watch, it's very much a tool watch. The difference between a Submariner and this watch is that this watch feels like just a pure tool, where I'm saying tool a lot now, but the Submariner is more of a sports piece. I think this is just such a charming watch. There was actually an email, I received an email earlier this week about a guy who's just picked up one of these. 20,000 pounds, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that is just ridiculous. I just don't understand that the pricing of these things is mad. So we jump to the 5 digits and the 6-digit references. I think the 5-digit reference polar is awesome. And a certain somebody on this platform, the Pontiff, has just sold his polar. And it's quite a sad day for all of us. Breaking news. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Dominion, I'm terrible with names. Try and keep track of this. So it's a pity. It's a real pity that he sold the watch. I think it was quite an error. I mean, here's his video. It's one of the top-rated videos on the platform. I mean, it's a gorgeous-looking watch. This piece, to me, white dial for a white skin, I think works so well. If you have quite a fair skin like I do, like many of us in the UK do, I think a white dial just works so well. And just the size. Again, Rolex hits the golden ratio so well with 40 mils or 39 mils, however you want to look at it. White on white looks so clean. Love the black highlights around it. It fits just, I mean, this is not a large wrist. This is a small wrist, but it looks so smooth. The proportions are just there in spades. I think the Polar is a better option to the standard, just the black dial. But at the same time, nothing wrong with it. I think what's nice about this is because it has the steel bezel, it tones down the presence a lot. So it doesn't look as in your face as something like a Submariner would. Then we jump to the 6-digit references. And that's a 2165. Yeah, I have a few issues with this. I've addressed this a couple of times. Again, it's down to proportions and down to wrist size. I mean, here's the same wrist. They made a few strange choices with this piece. 42 mils is okay. That's fine. 42 mils with a steel bezel looks great. But the size of that hour hand, for example, and just the stubbiness of the minute hand looks a bit peculiar, right? And the batons, I think what's nice, what they do attempt to do well is manage to balance the size of the batons and the everything else, the plots on the dial with the size of the case. So we just jump to a 5-digit reference sub with it. 42 mils does stick out like a sore thumb on a standard wrist. It doesn't appeal to me anywhere near as much as the 5-digit reference does. Founder Timeless Capital's on. James, good to have you here, sir. I'm just trying to keep track with the comments as we go down. Reverso Burgundy dial. I will have a look at that now. Just looking at this. Blue Shirt Buddha, my favorite watch is the 216570. Yeah, it's all just down to proportions. It's personal preference. I'm sure many of you guys like it. I would never be able to wear this watch. I've tried on a Polar before, and I couldn't wait to take it off quick enough. I then went straight to a solid gold Submariner just to try it on as well. But this, I don't know. Proportions are a bit all over the place. It would look great on a NATO strap for a smaller wrist, but difficult. I'm much a bigger fan of the standard 5-digit reference. So that's answering your question about the piece. And of course, you want to get some really cool pieces. You look at the tritium dials. That's so cool. I think that's one of the most charming. And then you get the cream dials as well. I don't know what those references are off the top of my head, what years they were. But gorgeous looking watch. You can't go wrong with one of these. And like the Pontiff has said many times, it doesn't look like a Rolex. It doesn't scream Rolex to you. It has that 90s sort of feeling behind it that it's, I always think of a tennis player owning this watch for some reason. Feels like the kind of watch a tennis person would be wearing. I also play tennis, but yeah. Keeping up with chat. Sorry, I'm going to scroll back up. Founder Timeless Capital, vintage 1655, no regrets. Yeah, I mean, it's gorgeous. I don't know if you heard me earlier, James, but I mentioned that I got an email this week asking about one, and it was bought for £20,000. The price was brought down from about £22,000. No papers, no box, just the watch. Immaculate. A 1973, so I'm guessing it's a Mark II. That looks stunning. That looks so good. Really think it looks awesome. I'm just going to pull up the 1655 again. I love it so much. I just don't know what it is. It's like an addiction, like Stockholm syndrome or something. It's too cool. Anyway, trying to keep up with these chats. I'm missing a lot of them. Just imagine Rolex introduces a Polar Explorer 1, Lawrence. It doesn't look very good. I've actually played around with concepts of it, and I don't know. The issue with it is you want, oops, let's get that back. You want contrast between the batons and the indices and the dial, and it doesn't look, I mean, here's an example. I don't know if that looks very good, all in all. I think the Oyster Perpetual looks a lot nicer. I mean, these are guys just fiddling around with Photoshop and stuff. I don't know, I think it's a bit much. If they had to blacken the dials itself, the batons and the numerals, just blacken the hands and everything else, it would look a lot better. Personally, that's my thinking. But I think you just want that contrast. You want the black on white hard contrast. It's a gorgeous watch. I'm much more of a fan of the 39mm Explorer 1 than I am the 42mm Explorer 2. Okay, I'm missing stuff. Polar 40mm is a winner. Yeah, I love it, Thomas. Favorite 50mm plus watch? I do like my Blancpain pieces. I'll go have a look at those just now. Dan Radke, thank you for the super chat, man. What sports watch do you recommend wearing when one is couturiering watches in Asia Pacific committing tests? Something discreet. I think a simple little date just, 36mm date just with a diamond dial. Black with the black diamond dial, I think would look pretty sick. Let's see if you can pull something up. Oof. Some look quite mean. One version of the date just that I really like, I'm going to try and find it. It was a two-tone. One of my friends has one. What's the reference? I'll never get this right, but it's a 90s piece. It's got a cream dial, and it's got Arabic numerals throughout. Let's see if I can find it. I don't think it's the circular pattern. I don't know. I'll try and find it. There's so many date justs, and it's an issue. I'm bad with my references too. So I think it's a simple little 36 date just is a perfect answer for someone. Maybe two-tone, just to add a little bit of emphasis to the wearing experience. Let me try and pull something up for us to look at while I get back to the chat. Damn it. You can't get high-res images. Maybe even a two-tone with a gold dial. Hell, the standard bezel looks good, right? I think it looks great. Okay, I'm going to get back to these chats. Polar Explorer 2. Let's see. Must be black dial. Yeah, Hans, I agree. I think the Explorer 1 needs a black dial. It's just that character. And the 36mm. I love this watch in 36. I think people would go mad if they brought this watch back in 36 as a new reference with the overhauled dial and everything else. I think people would go mad for it. And there's been talk about watch sizes going down and people getting attracted to them again. Hell, I'm with the people with that. But again, that's my preference. I'm more of a fan of smaller sizes, and it's really down to just wearability and proportion on the wrist and space. You don't need, it's in the last 50 years, it's not like our wrists have doubled in size, you know? You don't need all that extra space. But again, it is down to value and how much you're spending, and you kind of want something, you kind of want something to show off, and you want to have proof that you paid a lot and you received a lot of watch for the money. The Squally Lion shot. Yeah, I really don't like it at all. I'm not, and just off the top of my head, I'm not a fan of burgundy bezels. I don't think they look very good, but that's just my preference. Not such a killer. Look at the size difference between these two pieces. It's astronomical when you see them together. It's mind-blowing. Look how different they look. 36 versus 39. And this is off the Rolex forum. Someone is stuck in between the two and doesn't know which to go for. Let's see. GLC Polaris date. I'll pull up now. That's an idea. Time factors. Smith's PRS 25. Yeah, Cedar Canoe. I have one. I have one of those 1016 Smith's pieces, and it is Brilliant value for money. I love wearing it. I wear it all the time. Let's see. I was trying to pull up something else. There was a question about a Polaris, JLC Polaris. Let's just get that up. I'm still kind of getting my head around the watch. I love the history behind the Polaris and the whole idea. I think the compressor style case, if you want to explain it that way, I think it looks cool. I love the symmetry. JLC makes some amazing stuff. It's a pity that they're not seen as highly, or seen more popularly. What am I saying? They're not more popular in the community. Let's just follow the chats again. Explorer 36. Watch you can grow old with. Yeah, I agree with you, Cheeton. It really is. Talking about Smiths, I received a very interesting email the other day, and I want to keep it under tabs. But if you followed my last live stream, we were talking all about field watches. I mentioned a certain something about a partnership with Smiths, and I won't go any further, but let's just say it's going to be a really cool thing when it drops, and I hope to premiere it on the page for everyone to see. Anyway, I'm seeing a few tags in my name. Love the SKX. Yeah, Dan, the SKX is cool. I've mentioned this a few times about the Seiko SKX. The one thing that really bugs me, I love the smaller size, by the way. I'm sure it's the 013 that I enjoy. The one thing that bugs me about the SKX that I'm sure many have mentioned before is the fact that because they're so popular now, because they are kind of like the sriracha sauce of watches, everyone loves them. Social circles love them. Everyone loves modding them. There's so many communities around it. The watch has become very complacent in what it presents. For the price it goes for, you receive a movement that's very average. It doesn't have a sapphire crystal. There are lots of little things that are left desired in a few places. So yeah, I don't know. It's difficult to balance. But again, huge community around it, and it's great. Seiko has quite a cool history. I did a video about the SKX. I think I called it something like, why is the SKX so loved? And I mean, it's great. Affordable, easy, dependable, lots of fun. The sriracha of watches. Stan, I'm riffing like crazy tonight. Reza, good to see you here, sir. Lange voice versus the Royal Oak versus the Nautilus versus the White Panda Daytona, which is the best one to own. I think we'll get to that in a second. We'll be jumping from Seiko to Lange just now. That'll be pretty cool. In the beginning of the stream, I'd run through a redesign of the watch, if you'd like to have a look at that just now. Gerard Perigo Laureato skeleton. Jeez, we're jumping all over the show. Let's have a look. I won't be able to spell this to save my life. Gerard, dear me. Perigo. I'm so terrible. Again, I think the caffeine's gotten to my system now. This is cool. I have seen this watch before. There've been questions about Gerard Perigo and just the way they approach their design. And they very much, like Vacheron with the 222, they very much recreated the styling of one of their original pieces. I think PVD looks awesome on this watch. And the skeleton, it's very seldom that you can get a skeleton watch that looks great. And I think this is an example of a great looking skeleton because it's been engineered around the idea of it being a skeleton in the first place. Very important. When you're making a skeleton watch, it's all well and good taking the dial off and just saying, here we go. But the fact that the balance is at the top and the mainspring is in the corner, it's just a little bit offset. It's a gorgeous looking watch. Thanks for the suggestion. I'm just jumping back. Tim, thank you so much for the suggestion. It's a stunning looking watch. Again, when I look and see it on the wrist, down to size, it's hard for someone to just judge it, on face value. But I think overall, as a package, as a designed watch, I think they did a really good job. Like the bezel, simple and easy. Let's see. Oh, geez, the chat has just jumped up. I missed a few. Memovox. I'm missing a lot of these chats. JLC Memovox. I think it's a cool watch. I really like the function. And the one that I really enjoy is the, what's it called? The Master Compressor. I'm sure this is a watch that nobody likes, but it's one watch that I really like because it's just so hardcore. I mean, look at the wings on it, and it's just nuts. I really like the Master Compressor Memo Box just because you can wear it as a dress watch, you can wear it as a watch in the water, has the awesome complication inside it. I think it's too cool. Again, it's not to everyone's taste, but I've said a couple of times, I think JLC needs to return with their compressor cases because there's just something so charming about the way the crowns work and how you screw them in, unscrew them, you know, red, you're dead. I love that. I think it's so simple, nice and tactile, you know. Following the rest of these chats. Reza, it's okay. Okay, thank you for joining. Oh no, I lost it. There was a question by 12-hour watches. What do you think of the older 30mm Air King? I think I mentioned this in the last stream. 34mm Air Kings are really cool. I think they offer a lot. This piece, I'd really dig. Watch box. They cover all the great stuff. I think this is cool. What I like the most about these modern 34mm is the way they work the bezel and the fact that they've rounded it. You know, it's almost like a domed bezel. So it brings the proportions down. But again, the one watch that I'd always jump to, actually as a first Rolex for me, hand on heart, if I wanted to go out and buy a Rolex right now, I would probably grab one of these little olive pieces. Let's get a better picture. I think the 34mm olive, oh, it's gorgeous. Love the color. It's so versatile. Anything with this kind of olive drab feel makes it such a good piece for everyday wear. I mean, just look how well it would work with outfits. Really has a punch. And since we're talking about olive dials, another one that really stands to me is the olive Aquanaut. Let's pull that up. The olive Aquanaut, we're talking about sports watches today. We're talking about steel sports. How cool is that piece? Love it. Any watch in olive, you win me over, basically. That's how it just works here. I mean, look at that thing. Hand grenade in many ways. Many people have nicknamed it the hand grenade, and what would you call it? An M4 grenade. Too cool. Missing a lot of these chats. I'm just going to pull up again. Thoughts on Rado? I've looked at them a few times before, but I don't know. It's one of those brands that you sort of see, and then you kind of like you question why. I do like the whole integrated bracelet idea, the thoughts of that, but that immediately pulls me to another very interesting watch that I really look forward to discussing. And actually, let me pull it up. I do like the whole the black on black. I think it's interesting. I like the integration of the bracelets. They do some interesting stuff with the way they lay out the watches. But one watch that pulls me all the time is the IWC Porsche design. Look at this thing. That. Let's get a better picture. Come on. Can we find something good? This might do. That. Fascinating diver. Amazing. And again, this appeals to the industrial designer in me. I'd love to do a video about this soon. They did this was in the 80s. This was brought around. And as a dive watch, I think it has such a nice modern, it brings back the feeling of the 1655 in many ways. You've got those very 70s styled hands with orange seconds hand. Love the symmetry. You know, it's typical German design at its finest, and designed by Porsche. It's called the Ocean. Yeah, that's it. Too cool. That is how you blend a diver and you integrate bracelets and everything together. Such a clean looking piece. Interested in hearing your thoughts about that. As I scroll through olive dials, oh, I missed a lot of these chats. Hand grenades, love it. Hans, thank you. I don't know how I do it. I don't know how I speak like this. It just hits me over the head. I guess private school helped many, many years ago. Let's see, Founder Timeless Capital. Big fan of dark or olive green as well. Yeah, it looks so cool. I think the pulp, let me pull it up again. I'll get rid of the Chopard Alpine and pull up Patek Olive. And I'm sure it'll be the first one on the list. We must chat about the Aquanaut tonight because it's a watch that the simple Aquanaut doesn't appeal to me as much as the complicated ones do, which is strange because I'm generally someone who likes the simpler stuff. But this piece, the hand grenade, oh, simple, elegant, sporty, just has it all. I really like it. And the Aquanaut didn't appeal to me until I saw this watch, and then I was just like sold. This one, what was it, Baselworld, when it was released. Let's see, another one for you. Porsche Design 1919 Globe Timer, UTC Titanium Brown. Okay, Scottish watches, I'm going to pull that up now. Oh, I'm just going to be getting questions about sin and everything else. Guys, if I've missed your chat, I will try and get to it. It's difficult to balance out everything. If you can just repeat your questions from time to time, that'll be cool. 19 Globe Timer, UTC. I can just imagine it's going to look awesome. UTC. Very slick. Oh, I love the. Oh, I've never seen this before. I've seen a lot of Porsche design watches, but I've never like lingered. You know, that and oh, those lugs. You see what happens when you give an industrial design house an idea to bring together watches. They create the craziest, coolest things that you just wouldn't expect. And I mean, it's fascinating. Makes you think. Love the whole idea of filleting the edges and hollowing it out. Don't know so much about it on the wrist, though. It kind of has a bit of a strange flair to it, but that is cool. Very, very cool. That's what's interesting. It's all well and good having watches that just have straight lugs, but having lugs that actually are hollowed out, it makes you think, keeps you guessing about what could come next. American Jedi, kill it with fire. I'm sure you're talking about the Patek Olive. Let's see. Sorry that I'm missing these chats. I hate it that it jumps up all the time. IWC Porsche Design, I dig it. I think it's very interesting. Private school, Oxley said. Yeah, Clive. Yeah, I shouldn't have mentioned that I went to private school. It was all my inheritance that I spent on it. And it was a good experience. I got to learn how the rich kids lived, let's put it that way. I was in boarding school and learned a lot about how rich kids waste their money. I mean, these guys would crash their cars, brand new car into the wall on a Friday, and by Sunday you'd have a replacement. You know, mind blow. But I loved it. Private school was cool. Learned a lot. Kathy Bates. Too much olive. Let's just try and keep up with this. Aquanaut white gold. Along on Zone dial on the Aquanaut itself. I remember seeing Scottish watches. I saw, I think it was, what is it, Horological Dictionary, or someone who did the mock-ups, or was it Clockbait? One of the two on Instagram that did the mock-ups, and it looked cool. Did some interesting stuff. I should have highlighted that. I didn't follow it further. That school doesn't exist anymore. You know that, Hans. It's funny. Anyway, let's see. Trying to keep up. JLC Deep Sea Chronograph first Daytona. Let's talk about the more heavy duty watches. I did a video on Blancpain this week, and it was sort of pushed down because I made a couple of audios this week about certain watches, but I discussed the 50 Fathoms, I discussed the Aqualung and the Bathyscaphe. This is one of their new releases, by the way, called the Barracuda. So if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know, just go onto my channel and you'll see it. It's very brown. I used sepia as the thumbnail. Blancpain has some insanely cool watches, and their heritage tribute pieces seem to always sell out because people know what they want. They love the ideas. But just as I was talking about Blancpain, what happens often is that I get suggestions around the watches that I look at, and the X Fathoms. I know that Tim Mosso did a video on it, and it came up from Watchfinder. This is the most insane dive watch you will ever see. And I think it is so radical. It's so cool. I mean, if I had all the money in the world, I would probably get one of these because it's just so crazy. It's bizarre. I implore you to look up X Fathoms on YouTube, and you'll see a review by Tim Mosso on it. And he runs through all the details. It's basically got a 90-meter depth gauge, It's all mechanical, so it's brilliant. 90-meter depth gauge. It's got a 5. Let me just pull it a bit closer so I can get a better dial. Let's see if you can read this. On the left-hand side, we have a 5-minute flyback chronograph that helps your decompression stops. Okay. Then you have a 0 to, so on the far outside, you have from a 0 to 15-meter scale for your dive time, for your depth. And then on the inside, you have from 0 to 90. And basically what happens is that every micro depth you travel, one of these hands basically keeps following. And over here is the reset button for the, oops, no, don't open it up, you moron. Caffeine gets to me. Over here is the reset button for the depth gauge. Over here, I think is the flyback setting for the chronograph. It's just insane. It's so hardcore. It's huge. It's like, you know, look how thick it is. Has all these meshes and grills. It's got a helium release valve in the corner. I implore you to look at it. The industrial design that went into the strap is just is well worth looking at alone. You see how the strap has been injection molded and formed basically straight down. It's like, it is 50 mil. It's way over 50 millimeters in size. I think it's about 55, taking everything into account. It's just nuts. But I think it's the king of dive watches. And you look at the loom shot of this thing. I mean, you want to take this when you go into the ocean, right? If you had all the money in the world, I'm sure you would want to get this just for the experience. It is insane. Anyway, I see there's chats going on here. I'm trying to keep up with everything. Oh, geez. If you guys can just repeat your questions to me, tag IDGuy in it if you'd like me to address them. I'm just trying to stick with the chats and I miss so many things. Phil Smith, thank you so much for joining. JLC Master Compressor Pro Geographic. I'll have a look at that now. Yeah, I just think this watch is nuts. I've been interested in hearing your thoughts about it. It's just, it's crazy. So yeah, sometimes overbuilt, ridiculous dive watches can be very cool. Here's the clip from Tim. So really, I implore you to look it up because it's just nuts. Look at it on the wrist. Have you ever in your life? Puts the deep sea to shame. It puts practically any other dive watch to shame. And I don't know, you know, the joke is I don't know the depth that it goes to. What I don't understand is why Blancpain sticks to the whole idea of 50 fathoms. They literally call this the 50 fathoms X fathoms. It's kind of like, what? Anyway, probably 1,000 meters or something, daft. I don't know. It lights up like a diving computer. That's it. That's what I mean. It's mad. Absolutely insane. Okay, so I'm going to stick to the suggestions. If you guys would like to give me some more suggestions, just tag me and I'll probably be able to see them easier. Omega Proplof, Seiko, Tuna. Extreme divers. I think the Proplof is pretty cool. It's obviously not everyone's tastes. And I hope to circle back to the more elegant watches just now. Talking about, once again, the theme tonight is Crowned King of Steel Sports Watches. So I want to just run through as many references as we can with regards to the pieces. You know, the design is very polarizing. It's not exactly one for everyone. It's a little bit overdone. A little bit overdone. It's very overdone. And this was made at a time when, in the 70s, when they were just throwing ideas against the wall and hoping that something would work. And case design, the nice thing is they did, in fact, integrate a shark mesh bracelet with it, because otherwise it would have been a real problem, you know? I like the idea of the crown, how it screws in. This pusher on the far side, I think, was a bit of a mistake. It doesn't exactly make the experience of turning the bezel easy. It would be nice to be able to function the pusher with one hand and turn the bezel without a problem, but I think this is a little bit strange. Speaking of Proplofs, I know Thomas Burnett has a baby Proplof, and this is a cool looking piece. They're very cool. Here they are side by side. Look at that difference. I think a baby Proplof is a better call, just because it has the charm of the Proplof 70s design, but at the same time, it's not just a chunk of steel that's been CNC'd. Let's see. I'm going to keep up with these comments. I'm determined. Tissot Gentleman, Clive. Oh, and here's another before that. Really wear a Proplof Deep Sea with this watch. Way too big. Sorry, I missed that. Tissot Gentleman, Clive. What are we looking at here? Are we jumping from the Blancpain X Fathoms to That's quite cool. Has the Omega constellation kind of style. You know, Tissot's aren't that bad. But again, I don't know, it feels like an Omega. It feels very much like an Omega in the way it's presenting itself. You look at the case, you look at the batons, the hands, has a very Omega feel to it. I don't know. Let's have a look. Casio GW5000. Let's see. GW5000. So now we're jumping to our very much, what do they call this? Is this a Mudman? No, it's not. It's just your standard G-Shock. I love the proportions of this watch. I think it works very well. Overbuilt G-Shocks are a little bit mad. I think this styling, the simple layout is to its favor. And speaking of which, I actually want to do a challenge where I design a G-Shock on this page. Maybe have a 3-part series where I run through just my thought process on how to make an industrial design G-Shock, because this is very much the summary of industrial design in many ways. Looks cool. And there's one G-Shock, I don't know what the reference is, but I think there's a beige model that really stood out to me when I did a video about it. That. How cool is that? I don't know how we got onto G-Shocks, but we're talking about, I just love the color scheme. I think beige looks so awesome on this. Very much desert sand, you know, hardcore. Love it. Just trying to stick with these comments. I'm missing a lot, I'm sure. Called on Haynes. Chip Wong's in the house. Nice to see you, Chip. How about the Polaris? Let me pull up the GLC Polaris while I'm at it. I think the beige on this piece, and of course, another one that looks really nice is the analog. I think the analog dial on a G-Shock looks awesome. I did discuss the Polaris a second ago, didn't I? I think it looks cool on a steel bracelet. But I'm much more of a person who prefers a watch without a date, if possible. So the standard layout, I mean, that looks cool. That's really nice. Memovox, I think Memovox just has such a charm. Rubber strap, they knew what they were doing with this. I would go for a Memovox over a Polaris, honestly. I just love the whole JLC Memovox story. The history behind it is makes it such a character. Geez, I'm missing a lot of these. Talking, what position did you play? If we're talking about rugby or whatever else. Royal Oak, found a time as capital. My everyday swimmer in the ocean for many years was an AP survivor. Let's pull that up. AP survivor. I can't say. Have I seen this before? I have seen this before. What a strange looking AP. And I love the pushes. I think it's just so bizarre. What were they thinking? That's just mad. It once again has that overbuilt feel. Where is a good picture? Come on, give me something. That looks pretty sick, I must say. The drilled out case. I mean, this is basically a design team saying, hey, let's just do whatever. This looks like the muzzle brake on a rifle. I don't know what the thinking was there. But I love the billeted case, the side. This was them just saying, hey, what the hell? Let's just throw it all together and see what happens. Outside center, let me talk about football. X Fathoms, only 300 meters water resistance. I can't believe that. Really pilot style, that's amazing. Can't believe that. A lot of people don't like the Vacheron Overseas. I think the blue dial is beautiful in person. Tim, I agree. It's gorgeous. Really radiant, really attractive looking watch. I'm going to see if I can catch up with the recent chats because I'm missing a lot of stuff. Oris Aquis, Polaris mentioning again. Opinion on different Breguet Classique dials. Oh, geez, getting into dress watches. I want to try and keep it to the sports stuff today, I think, because when we get to the dress stuff, it just gets nuts. Too many tangents spoil the broth, as they say. The Arnie AP. So this is a cool looking piece. I like this. I like just the ridiculous overbuilt nature. Quite interesting. Kind of reminds you of a Panerai in a way. Let's see, AP Arnie. What the hell? Are we talking? Is this? There we go. Very, very much in a similar way. Give me something good, full sized. Don't they call this the Safari? I might be wrong. I'm not very good with my references, my names. When it comes to the offshore line of pieces, I kind of battle because there's just so much stuff going on. Like, you know, when it comes to the naming of them. JLC Navy Sea Alarm. I love that watch. American Jedi. Let me pull it up quick. Nice looking watch. What I do like is the numeral layout. I think on these overseas pieces, having Arabic numerals throughout, it looks so clean. Really adds. If it was me getting one of these watches, I would be sure to bank for a model that has numerals on the dial. So what was it again? It was the Navy SEALs, and it was a JLC, right? Yeah. I've looked at this before. This is a crazy looking diver, and I think it epitomizes what Navy SEALs divers are about. It has such a hit of that character. Come on, give me something big. There we go. Compressor crown. I mean, you just can't go wrong with it. Too cool. Nice and hardcore, heavy duty. I think it's awesome. Anyway, I want to try and deviate away from these overbuilt dive watches and start going back into sports pieces. I'm just checking the time. We've been at this for an hour by the looks of things. Pretty cool. I don't know how long the stream is going to go, but as we know, time's going back for an hour tonight. So, well, in the Northern Hemisphere. So that might mean we're going to have to add another hour to our time. Let's see. Offshore's Abomination. Yeah, it's not a watch. I mean, if it was me going for an AP, let's just refer back to APs and just pull it up again. One that I really love. I think the Royal Oak chronograph is gorgeous. And what they've done recently, bringing out the smaller sized pieces. If I had a chance, I don't know if this is the one. If I had a chance of getting one of those 38 mils that they've just released, this one, the blue dial. I think Royal Oak chronograph is what would appeal to me. The 15202 is amazing. We'll get to look at that just now. But for me, I think, and this is a nice comparison. There we go. We've got an AP chronograph next to a Vacheron chronograph. AP just has this charm. Royal Oak 15202. We will have a look at that. Thank you, Cheetan. I want to try and get back into the more dressy sports watches instead of the hardcore, just overbuilt, ridiculous divers. So I love the Royal Oak chronograph. I think that is a perfect watch for any occasion. It's got the sporty element. It's got that little bit of an added complication. It's too cool. And then we pull up the 15202. I actually have a write-up in the works that might come out next week or the week after about my love-hate relationship between this watch. I'll basically premiere the thinking process behind it now. The Royal Oak, it's modern, but it's retro. You know, it's got it's very hard to just like distill it into words. It's very old school, very simple, but at the same time, some days I love it, other days I hate it. I don't know what I would call it, my nemesis. Just speaking purely about design, it looks outdated, but it looks modern. It's very, very much a juxtaposition in the way you can word it. But at the same time, the design is just the foundation for practically all of these high horology brands that are bringing out their steel pieces, you know? And real character, I love it. Just sticking to the chat, let's talk about Royal Oak AP chronograph. Dressy Sport is an explorer's purpose, yeah. 15202. The 222, also gorgeous looking watch. This Royal Oak is a Lamborghini Countach of watches. Yeah, that's very good analogy. I think I mentioned that in a video, that's kind of like that 80s, 70s, 80s charm that it has around it. But, you know, it's mesmerizing. The more you look at it, you can go into it thinking, yeah, it's just a steel brick. But the more you look at it and just see what it's done with regards to the bracelet, with regards to the polishing and the finishing, it's something that just sticks in my mind as a watch that's always, it could be the perfect watch for me. I tell you what, because one day I love it, the next day I hate it. One day I really want to wear it, the next day I'd probably not want to see it. And I think that's probably the perfect relationship, you know, the perfect marriage. And just, there was mention about the crown. The crown is so great. It looks like an M8 nut. If you know anything about machining, M8 is basically just a standard format of a nut that you would use on anything. It just, the design follows through everywhere. sharpness, industrial, hard, heavy, but at the same time, just it works. It's very much, I don't know, hard to distill. That's why I like writing it. And we see it next to a Nautilus. The way I've kind of rationalized it is I've said that the AP pretty much established, it was the prototype, it was the concept. The Nautilus was the follow through of the concept. And I'm sure many people won't agree with that. And it's interesting hearing the history and the battle between the two companies and how there was such a rivalry between them both. But in the back of my mind, I think that the Nautilus was the refinement of the Royal Oak. At the same time, though, the Royal Oak has something different to it. Completely different character, something out of this world. It's very hard to just distill your thoughts about it. And this is the 15400 and the 15202. The 39mm 15202 just looks sharp. Love it. Let's get back into the chat. There was a question. Consider the Grand Seiko SBGA 211. One of the most beautiful. I'm tracking what that one is. The one Grand Seiko that I love. I don't know if that's the reference that you're referring to. 211. If it's the peacock, no, there's just the standard snowflake. Okay, the snowflake is nice. It's very Seiko in the way it presents itself. Which, I mean, if you're a Seiko lover, it's great. Really does a great job. The texture on the dial, just the narrative behind how they designed their dials differently. And I've said this time and time again. If I was going for a Grand Seiko, it would be the peacock. Probably one of the hardest watches to find. But this watch with its amazing dial, GMT complication, it's a gorgeous everyday watch. And the best part is it's the lighting when it hits. Oh, just look at that texture. And really the idea behind the texture on the dial, the plumage of a peacock's feathers, all these different little steps around it, the radial patterning. This, for me, is Grand Seiko in its ultimate form as a sports dress styled watch. Also a high beat. It's 36,000 beats per minute, which means beats per hour, sorry, which means that it's so smooth. Gorgeous looking watch. Love the green. Again, it's down to green. It's the olive drab thing that just sticks in my head. So I'm just sticking through. Patek wins. Prefer the Royal Oak over the Nautilus. Yeah, it's very difficult to justify which is better when we look at this family. And then we jump to, I don't know, it's hard to rank them as well. When we rank, I don't think you should compare them, actually. Let me just try and get the two watches together. Let's see if I can just bring them up together and versus Nautilus. There's a video that I made a while back. I don't think it's fair to actually compare these two watches together. The reason why we jump to these two watches when it comes to comparisons is because, of course, the same designer came up with the idea. And they are completely different. It's like the Submariner and the Seamaster in many ways. And there was actually a suggestion that I combine the designs together and make something. I'd love to do it. So that'll happen in the future. But I think, I don't know. It's very hard to rationalize which is better for why. I think for more of a dress watch, you're going with the Nautilus. For more of a sports watch, you want to go with the Royal Oak. Thoughts on the 50 Fathoms complete calendar flyback? Okay, since you've mentioned it 3 times, I will oblige. I'm not even going to try and pronounce your name. Let's see. 50 Fathoms. I'm guessing this is going to be, it's going to be some kind of dress watch, right? Complete calendar, flyback chronograph. Whoa, flyback. Oh, far out. Far out. Love the dial. This is just, I mean, this is when you take the brief and you go a little bit mad when it comes to arranging the colors and the format. It's just in your face. That's cool. I love the color. The color's great, but the radial finishing on, if we just break it up, let's find a full dial photo if we can. This might be good. And of course, once again, you get to the higher end brands and you can't find a clear picture to save your life. This can be an issue when we look at dials and we see just how conflicting the brushing is in places. So we have a radial brushing on the outside. Then we have concentric brushing on the inside of each subdial, and then guilloche on the inside subdial. It's a clash. I think it's a little bit too much. They could back off just a smidge when it comes to that. If they'd kept it a bit cleaner, I think it would make a world of difference. One thing is when subdials are like this, the legibility goes out of the window. I'm sure many of you have seen that in the past, that when these subdials hit the light, you lose a lot of their presence visually. Audemars, Patek, Oculus. I love it. When it comes to naming watches, I burst out laughing. You know, the Master Submariner, the Rolex, and it's a lot of fun. Let's pull up something else. What's another cool watch? Seiko Izul. Never heard of that before. Never heard of that before. What is that? I can't say I know much about this watch. So it's kind of got a reverse bullhead style function to it. Quite interesting though. But geez, it's very looks very old school in the way they've arranged it. Bizarre. I can't say that's a watch that comes to mind when I think sports watch and everything else. Founder Timeless Capital, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Don't forget to support. Oh, thank you. You know, I'll mention Patreon for anyone who's interested. I started a Patreon page. I've laid it out. What happened was I decided, by the way, talking about this, I love the new Pro Specs. I think they've done such a great job with the finishing and the polishing and everything else. Let me pull something else. Let's get the Royal Oak and the Nautilus back up. I started the Patreon page about a month ago, but I paused it because I just didn't know how best to address the whole idea. And I wanted to have tiers and have consulting going on in the background and all of this, but it kind of got a bit overwhelming. And I thought if I had consulting and basically did collection reviews on the channel, it might deviate away from what I want to do on the page. So I've kept it very simple. If you look at the About section of my channel, you'll see the link to it, and should be in the right-hand corner. Gorgeous. The Nautilus is a strange beast. Very much a dress watch. I would consider it more of a dress watch than a sports watch. Howdy from Texas. Good to see you here, sir. Thank you for joining. Brandon Marks. The Louis Vuitton spin timer. Can't say I've looked at Louis Vuitton much. They call it a spit timer. Spin timer. Never heard of that before. Oh dear Lord. Oh yeah, this wins, man. This is, you know, screw the APs and the Pateks, and I mean, get one of these. What is that? Ladies and gentlemen, what is that? What's the thinking behind that thing? Oh, okay, I get the idea. It's kind of like a crazy dial in the way that the hours jump to different places on it, and these little guys rotate. That's interesting. I like the idea, but it's a tourbillon. I didn't know Louis Vuitton was so involved with watchmaking. What is that? What were they thinking then? Louis Vuitton. Okay, you learn something every day. Thank you for highlighting that question. Who was it who mentioned it? Brandon, thank you for the highlight. I tried on the 50 Fathoms. Beautiful watch. The size is something that affects people. I don't know if the 50 Fathoms would fit me. My wrist is quite average in size, but it is awesome. I don't know how we're referring back to it, but let's just get back to 50 Fathoms and have a look at it again. These military mil-spec inspired pieces that they're bringing back, I think, are so charming. And if I'm not mistaken, I know a lot of them are coming out in 40 mils, so they're a lot more wearable. I love the no radiations. It's just such a charming little watch. 50 Fathoms has an amazing history. I did a video about it this week and covered them. This is the Barracuda. It's an homage to a 53 piece they created for the Polish military. Interesting story. Hey, and since we're talking about it, let's just pull up the Air Commando, because this is a watch that anyone could enjoy, I think. Let's see. I'm missing a lot of chats, I know, and I'll get to you guys in a second. 50 Fathoms Air Commando, come on. Blancpain. Give me something. Here we go. I mean, that kind of puts Breitling out of business, I think, when you look at the layout of the watch. I mean, look at that thing. How cool is that? That's a reissue that I think they brought out this year. Timing bezel, flyback chronograph. Just look at that thing. Stunning. Okay, following through the chat. Thank you for the super chat, James. JLC Master Compressor Diving Pro Geographic. Let's pull that up for a sec. Once again, I love the Master Compressor line. Let's see. All these names, I can't keep track of the Diving Pro. I'm sure there's all sorts. There's Diving Pro. Oh, okay. I know this piece. Yeah, I've seen it a few times before. Really not a fan of the rubber clad bracelet. I don't think it serves the piece well. You want something with a full bracelet. Let's just have a look at the dial if we get a high-res photo somewhere. So let's have a look. Depth gauge. I'm guessing this is the section that basically calculates the depth itself. Very interesting. Like the blue. I think the blue accents give it a nice character, but maybe the bezel being with a color instead would look a little bit more appealing. I think it looks quite flat without the bezel being highlighted. Cool looking watch though. Love the layout. I'm guessing this is a 24-hour time on the left. Interesting looking piece. Very interesting looking piece. Once again, compressor crowns just adds so much to the watch. But again, I think a bracelet, this is on Tim's wrist. Tim and I share a similar wrist size, I think. And our wrist's a little bit bigger than his, but I mean, look how fat that thing is. It's nuts. And I didn't see how deep it goes. Still, looks cool. I think depth gauge divers need to become a thing. They need to be popular, because it would be awesome if someone like Rolex or Omega really brought out a killer depth gauge watch that just won the show, you know? Just following up. Would you, oh, I missed it. Let's see. Would the new steel Lange be favored for you over the Royal Oak? No chance, Reza. Sorry. And the Nautilus? No, not at all. And I don't know how many new guys are on the page, but I did a redesign of the watch. I might as well just pull it up for a second. Won't be long. I'll just flick through it. So here is the original watch as it came out. And oops, let's go back up to the top of the list. I love PDF viewer. Sometimes it really messes around with you. So here's the original watch on the right-hand side, and I just decided to play around a bit. On the left, you'll see the modifications. I pulled the bracelet down a bit to see what it would look like. I tested it on a leather strap to see if it looked any good, and then started playing around with different bracelet configurations. I looked at the Rolex Oyster bracelet. So on the left-hand side are all the modifications. I tried the Omega Speedmaster bracelet, the IWC. What was it? I think it's just a standard IWC bracelet that they use in their pieces. I then put it on an AP integrated case with bracelet, and then started playing around with the dial architecture. I looked at the placement being offset and everything else. That was a lot of fun. And I basically came up with the final idea of bringing in the day and the date, shrinking the sub-seconds, putting the pushers on the far side to sort of balance it out a bit more. Then I took the pushers away and ended up with that. It was a lot of fun. It was about half an hour before the stream started. I just pulled some ideas together on how I would possibly rework the watch. But for the price, I think it's just mad what they're asking for the piece. I think it's nuts, personally. Go for a Royal Oak. You won't go wrong with it. Let's be real. And Nautilus is also gorgeous. It's all up to your personal preference, as we all know. Now everyone is going wild for steel sports watches and blue dials. In your opinion, what are the next trends hitting the watch market? I'm not someone who's watch market conscious, I'm afraid. I just do this because I enjoy the designs of pieces. But I've mentioned that I think the Vacheron Overseas might have a bit of pull, because it's one of the only pieces that really is on offer that has, that they're available and they keep that kind of aesthetic. I think there's going to be interest in this watch in the future. Might be completely wrong, but that's about as far as I know. Just the hype for steel watches has gone mad. And of course, someone like me perpetuating them doesn't help things. So it's very difficult to know what's right, what's wrong. This watch is just something else. Love the chronograph. Blue dial. The fact that they supplied with leather straps and everything looks awesome. Anyway, I want to try and keep with these more dressy sports watches. So let's try and keep the questions around here. I see something about Zenith from Tim. Let's see. Zenith El Primero 21 steel bracelet, crazy looking. Roger Dubuis, Knight of Round Table. Jeez. Okay, let's get this guy out. Roger Dubuis. I am useless with names. Knights of the Round Table. I mean, where do they come up with these names? Oh my sweet. Like, guys, what is that? What is the thinking behind that, really? I don't know. This is the designer brain saying this is too much. This is a jewelry designer's job. This is not an industrial, you know. I like the case. I think the case and the integration is quite nice between the lugs and the straps, but geez, I mean, what were they thinking there? It's just too much. It's just excess. I can't imagine what this thing must look like in the light. Well, here's an example. Oh, low res. I love my low res images. So this was bizarre. Thank you for the suggestion on that. And the Zenith El Primero 21. I love the El Primero. We can get onto that just now. Just seeing the rest of the comments that are going on. From Clive, I think there was a question. Oops. Oh, I'm missing all of these. What are you going to put the Breitling? What's going to put Breitling out of business? Bright. They make some cool stuff. Their newest pieces are quite nice, but they are struggling in lots of ways. Let's get this guy back on, nice and clean. See if we can find a black dial. I mean, look at that. How elegant is that for an everyday wearing sports / dress watch? I think the black dial works even better on this piece than the blue dial. Looks gorgeous. George Daniels watch, obtainable, significant. Oh my God. George Daniels, I am by no means a George Daniels follower. I mean, none of his watches are obtainable, right? I mean, his watches are all auction pieces and they're all insane. I get a very close feeling of just it's an interesting approach because it very much feels like Breguet in the way that he lays out his dials. Very traditional. I think that's beautiful. You want to keep it simple. That's the way to do it. Simple, clean, sub-dials, all nicely spaced. I just love the fact that these are all made by hand. The artisanal quality. You just see every little error, every little scratch on the dial. It's gorgeous. George Daniels. For anyone who's new to the watch hobby and doesn't know who this man was, he basically invented the coaxial escapement, which is now Omega's mainstay. And his pieces are legendary. His thoughts on these pieces, I mean, the whole approach, something out of this world. And now Roger Smith is taking up, look up Bark and Jack. Adrian's channel covers Roger Smith in depth. He goes to his factory. It's great. Lots of fun to watch. Let's see. My final punt of the night, Zenith Double-Matic. The Everything Go Anywhere watch. Let's get it up. Scottish watches, you guys have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to pieces that I don't have. Oof. That I've seen this. This is a stunning piece. That is cool. That is so cool, man. Man, that is cool. So we have a proper world timer. I'm guessing. Is this a world timer or does it have a GMT publication? Alarm reserve. It looks like something that you would give to a jet fighter. You know, a jet pilot. Looks awesome. Love the crowns on either side. It's just overbuilt excess, you know? Looks great. Full alarm reserve. So it has everything. It looks like it has an inside alarm. It has a date complication, has a chronograph, has a world time, or it could be a GMT. I'm guessing it's a world time. I mean, that's why it has all the dials. That looks great. Thank you for the suggestion, Scottish Watches. I love it. Let's see, I'm missing a couple. Dan Radke, thank you so much for the super chat. It's not about the money, it's my passion. Yeah, it is. I mean, this is a passion project. You have to love. This is why I love to bring this stuff, this whole design feel behind watches, because in the end, we are admiring these things for their designs and what they represent. IWC bracelet. I think we were referring to I'm missing so many of these. I think I missed a lot. Roger Debris. Okay, I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom because there's so many chats going on. IWC Ingenieur Chronograph. Let's have a look. Honestly, I'm not such a fan of the Ingenieur. It's not a watch that really hooks me anywhere near as much as the other pieces. Ooh, let's see. Is that the chronograph? You know, it's almost like the way you should look at watches is it's kind of like a 5-second rule or 3-second rule. You look at it and you go, does it grab me? Doesn't it grab me? This watch, 5-second rule, doesn't grab me. And I think the case, the lugs, those just, I don't know. It looks generic, you know. Here's a good example. I mean, this is a better example of an engineer. That's quite nice. What I do like about the engineer is just how they've the architecture of the case, the bracelet, how it all integrates, the batons, the hands. It all feels like it's one. The bezel, I'm not so hot on. I don't think it looks that nice. I think they could have done a better job just leaving it without the holes, you know. But the pushers look great, and I think this is kind of like their mainstay. I don't know what that other engineer chronograph was. That really didn't look anywhere near as good as this. Nice looking watch, but I don't know. I would still be more enticed by the Vacheron, personally. I don't know. IWC should stick to their pilot watches. They should bring out their Mark 11 again. Anyway, let's get back to, I don't know. I need to stick to these chats and keep following this. I'm missing a lot of these. It's a problem when I'm focusing on the screen. I miss so many of these chats as they scroll. Let's think. What's another cool piece to look at? What we can do, we're approaching, it's an hour and a half into the stream. We could look at, I don't know. Let's bring back an old favorite. Let's just bring back the Daytona and just discuss. Everyone, let's see you guys rip each other's throats out in the chat. How about that? These rainbow dials and oh God, why can't they just keep it simple, you know? Let's just stick with the Daytona for a second and just see some of these chats and what everyone thinks. Laurent Ferrier, Gallet, Square, Boreal. God, let me go look at that now. Clive is having a good time. You want a Daytona date? Well, I think there's been a lot of discussion about people wanting a Daytona with a date, but I don't know. It would break up the dial a bit too much. It's difficult. Where would you put it? I think having it at the 4 o'clock would look nice, but Rolex would never do that. They would always have it at the 3, and I guess that's why they don't put a date on the watch. The model that really appeals to me, and I think is great, the reference back to the big eye, is this. Of course, it's low res. Why give me a low res image, people? Come on. Jumper Shop tends to have great stuff. I think these sub dials, everything, it just looks so clean. I love the layout of this. I'm not so much of a fan of the rubber strap, and I know you can get a white gold version with a bracelet and everything else without the black bezel, but the black bezel ties it in. Rolex white gold GMT meteorite dial, Pet Shop Boy. Let's have a look at that. I can't say I'm a fan of meteorite Rolex pieces in general. Just meteorite dials. The amount that's charged for these pieces is just, I don't know if it's warranted. White gold GMT. Oh, this is the new Pepsi that you're talking about. Okay, let's have a look. It doesn't. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it too much. It's kind of a watch that I saw at the unveiling and didn't really think too much about it. I think it's. I like the texture to the dial. I think anyone can admit the texture looks good. But for the exorbitant price they're charging and the so-called exclusivity factor of having a meteorite dial, it's just unnecessary. I much prefer, actually, honestly, I prefer the white gold GMT with the blue dial. I think that is a much better option. That's cool. I mean, where's a good picture of it? Is there any pictures of it on a wrist? No. That, I think, is a nicer call. Personally, I prefer, if I was going for a Pepsi, I would grab the model with the blue dial because it, I don't know, it accentuates the whole styling. I mean, you look at, I know the bezel is a contentious point, and I've seen one of these in the flesh, and the bezel really is shocking. Really, irritating. I know how the ceramic process works and how it comes to glazing and the steps. They could really improve on the color scheme here. And I think they start with a baseline red ceramic, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, getting back to it, what I like about the blue dial is the fact that it accentuates the blue section of the bezel. And then we look at the hand and it accentuates the red part of the bezel. Very nice. Like the combination. More watches need to have, I mean, Rolex are just so into their black dials on their pieces. And I think they need to be more explorative, if that's the word. They need to explore more with different colors to give it some vibrancy, you know? Omega Speedmaster Racing Dial, Clive, thanks for the question. Let's see. I'm guessing that is the Schumacher style. Yeah, very cool. It's not something I've looked at extensively. It has that 70s charm, like through and through. Color contrast is great. I think it just adds that extra pop of presence. I think the standard Speedmasters have just been done to death, you know, and having a little bit of a shock. I don't know why the Snoopy is in such demand. I mean, I think these pieces, like the what's the other? The Ultraman. The Ultraman's another example that I think deserves to have that demand because the colors are just there. It has that nice punch. I dig it, Clive. I think it's really nice. Love the orange, love the maroon red. And then we get to the more complicated. There's just so many references, man. They really need to chill with their references because you just can't keep up. So many different sub-dial layouts, and I just don't know what they're thinking half the time. It's, you know, less is more, as they say. Talking about the Daytona, too much like a 4-digit Daytona. I think we were talking about, yeah, I'm missing so many chats. I'm going to get to the bottom again. Jamie, thank you so much for the super chat. Navitimer Aviator. Let's pull that up. Navitimer Aviator. It's a watch that I really haven't covered a lot, and I'm not qualified enough to discuss it. Oh, this is one of their new pieces, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, black dial. You mentioned the color. I think black dial with the black strap looks so good. And it's, you know, the date window. Maybe I haven't looked at this watch extensively. If the blue dial doesn't have, no, black dial. I think black dial works nicer. You see, this is the thing. Breitling has brought out some really nice stuff in the last year or so. Let me get that full picture up again. That looks great. Love the numerals. Love the callback to the old pieces. The turning bezel, chronograph. Can't go wrong with that. It looks awesome. I think it looks nice. Thanks for the suggestion. Let's see the other questions. Rolex Air King. Let's pull that up now. Q Timex. Oh, the Q Timex is cool. It's a cool piece. I think it's now that it's reached social media and everything else, it seems like it's getting blown out of proportions. Okay, I did a video about this watch a long time ago, a good few months ago. In the video, I said I kind of liked the strange layout. The Air King is one of the most underrated Rolex pieces around, and the origin of it was made for pilots of the RAF, and it's basically to Rolex's their thought of bringing this out. They've kind of neglected it in many ways. Give me a nice full picture that looks good. Let's see. So Rolex has kind of brushed the watch under the rug, and they've basically made this watch to sell the original gold, full gold numerals that went with the Explorer, the original Explorers. The layout, the one thing that I actually corrected when I did a redesign of this watch, let's just pull up the PVD version. Come on, get a nice big, full, easy to read picture. The correction that I made, the one thing that really puts me off, this is my pedantic eye again. You look at the 55 and you look at the 5. How do you remedy this imbalance? You just add a 0 to the 5. And then all of a sudden it's symmetrical. You know, because everything has double digits, 10, 20, 25. You add a 0 to the 5 and then all of a sudden there's a balance. You look at it now, I've probably just ruined your appreciation to it. Look at that gap. Oh no, I just clicked it, sorry. Look at that gap between the 2 points. That bugs me. You know, those stupid little things that a pedantic eye would see. that space, it looks skew, cluttered, you know. And if it had a 0 there, it would look a lot better. I like the idea that they use the green and the yellow. They're experimenting with stuff, kind of like they were going through an experimentation phase. It's a cool watch. It is a very cool watch, but I don't know, the numerals, it's hit and miss. A lot of people would like it, some people don't, you know. Let's see, Daytona 11651. Yeah, I'll get to those references. Geez, Parmigiani Florio. I'm going to stick with the steel sports watches if I can. I don't want to get to the high-end dresses tonight because then we're just going to be spending so much time. The Zenith A384. Love that watch. That watch, I did a video. If you want to see a video, I discuss it at length. The whole history of Zenith, their movements, everything else. I made it a couple of weeks ago. This thing is just, it's so cool. Such a charming little watch. Case design, this is the hero image of the piece. Case design, integration, the panda style dial. This is where it all originated, ladies and gentlemen. Love the red accent. It's a real stunning looking watch. And they just brought out a reissue of this. I think this is probably the reissue. I'm pretty sure they've all sold out now. Gorgeous looking watch though. Let's see. I'm missing so many comments. Coaxial. It just gets so overwhelming when you've got to catch up. It'd be so nice to have a super chat, a chat team checking out this stuff. The dial is busier than daycare. Thanks, Clive. Patek 5170 5070. I would go for the 5170 personally. But again, I want to try and keep it, might as well. Last time, we're going to be looking at dress watches. I think the 5170 is a little bit more modern. Breguet numerals, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. I think the black dial looks awesome. If you want a chronograph, a dress watch, it doesn't get much better than these pieces. Oh, gorgeous. The 5070, I think, is a little bit dated, and it's to do with the spacing, the tachymeter inside. I don't know, it's maybe my millennial brain. I think it's just a little bit too much for, I don't know. I also prefer the Breguet numerals to the standard numeral layout. That's just my thinking about it. And of course, it's just, once again, my opinion. I'm sure everyone has their own taste for different things. Let me just pull the 5170 back again. Love the Breguet. I'm not so much of a fan of this. I think this is the platinum version. Not such a fan of the batons. I think this watch deserves Breguet numerals. It looks gorgeous. And then it's the debate between this and the 1815 chronograph. And then it's, you know, we're talking about Lange and the complications behind it. And yeah, all of that stuff. Anyway, I want to stick with steel today. So let's resort back to, I don't know, my favorite Seamaster. I think the 57 Seamaster is a real charming piece. If I can find a good picture. Of course, they give me a Speedmaster. Google, you don't help me often. Here we go. I really dig this little Seamaster. I've had extensive wearing time with this, and I think the size, everything is just such a charming little piece. Let's see, Jared Perigo, World Time. I don't know. I want to really try and turn it back. Let's just try and keep it as generic as possible because my brain, we've been at this now for nearly 2 hours. My brain is starting to go fuzzy with all these names and stuff. So again, if you'd like me to look at a watch, just tag me in the chats. And I'm sorry if I've missed your comments. If you can just repeat them a few times, I might be able to see them better. I miss so many. Ant G's in the house. Nice to see you, Ant. The Seiko SPB089. Let's have a look. And there was a question about a JLC that I saw a second ago. Seiko SPB, oh geez, 089. God, why can't they make it easy? Oh, an Alpinist. Okay. The blue dial, I think the blue dial Alpinist works better than the green, personally. And this is strange because I was saying how much I love green dials, you know, the olive style dials. I think the blue is much better for this watch specifically. Nice character. I'm not such a fan of Dauphine-styled hands, though. Kind of dates the watch in many ways. There are two things that really stand out to me. It's the Dauphine hands and it's the layout of the dial. It doesn't, the whole baton, numeral baton layout doesn't do much for me. In a similar way to, I think it's a Vacheron, a recent Vacheron Constantine that was brought out, has a similar layout. Doesn't appeal to me. I much prefer either, balance between the numerals and the batons, or batons alone instead of the contrast between the numerals. But what I do like is where the crown's placed. That's a very nice feature in the corner. I think the blue dial is awesome. Really love the color. Just don't like the Dauphine hands. I don't know. It would be. I mean, they can make it simpler by just giving it standard stick hands, and it would look great. Let's be real. It would look awesome. Grand Seiko, we're going back there again. JLC, the Reverso model. That's my favorite. Okay, since we are just cruising. I love the blue dial. I think the blue dial is the one that really grabs me. But at the same time, I think the standard, just the classical, simple layout with no sub-seconds or anything also looks great. It's very conflicting. I think the one that really pulls me the most is the, the 1931 tribute. If I had the choice of getting one, I would be going for just the standard black dial. Look at that thing. And what I said in the video, I did a Reverso video a few days ago. What I said in the video is that having a black dial like this, you can just go mad with straps. The combinations, awesome. Cathedral hands. Sorry, Cheetown. I make a lot of mistakes. Yeah, just keeping up. Omega Constellation. There's been lots of questions about Omega Constellations, and I've been neglecting them. Purely because it's a watch that I haven't been focusing on. Let's see, just the standard. I think the blue dial constellation looks great. Paipan, they've very much tried to keep it old school in the way they presented the watch, and I think that's cool. But again, it appeals to a very niche audience. It appeals to the vintage enthusiasts. It won't appeal to everyone. What I do like what they've done is the fluting on the bezel. I think the fluting is very understated if you see it in person. Now I'm getting given ladies' pieces. No, man. Damn it. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. Men. Are they going to give us anything good? These integrated bracelets, not really a hook. Ugh, Google, you're not helping me tonight. Damn it. Jumping back in. Thoughts about getting a Tonda Qualité Fleurieux. Finishing on the movement is truly amazing. Would love to get your opinion on the watch and look at the movement. Okay, let's have a look. I'm probably missing a lot of questions below, but I can't get the name right. Let's just try our best. Oh, okay. I've seen this before. I really love, what I love about Parmigiani is the way they do their lugs. I think the lugs are very corne de vache in the way they've styled them. I mean, that's stunning. That's just so typical of Parmigiani. And the movement is, I mean, you don't need my advice. It's gorgeous. It is stunning. Love the contrast, love the colors, the brushing, the finishing. You can't go wrong with this watch. But again, we're resorting back to dress watches when we're supposed to be sticking to steel pieces. Let's see, Van de Gang. Is that Dutch? I don't know. Need to get back to the comment. Burgundy. 57 Seamaster faux patina no-go. You don't like the faux patina? I really do. I don't know why. It's like, I guess it's the design brain. I don't know what it is that pulls me to watches with the faux patina, but I think it's great, especially when it works. This is an original 57. I don't know why I'm resorting back to this, but let's see. Seamaster Proplof. I discussed it earlier, the wished watch experience. I discussed the baby Proplof and the Seamaster Proplof. I think the overbuilt one from the 70s is a little bit nuts, a little bit clumsy in the way they've thought around it. The baby Proplof is much better. They've managed to improve it a lot. Thomas Burnett, thank you for the super chat, brother. It's always great having you here. Thank you so much. Time to pour yourself a drink. So I've got about a quart of coffee left. I've still got my Pinot Noir. or for the more cultured members of the community, that's Pinot Noir. So I'm doing well. I'm doing well with the drinks, which is good. But I want to try and stick to passive-aggressive shaving. I actually, now that we're approaching the 2-hour mark, I want to get into Watches of Knightsbridge's catalog. This might be of interest to some people. They've got a whole load of pieces up for sale, and they're doing an auction 16th of November. Lots of stuff to look at, everything from steel sports watches to dress watches, and it's just cool. The combination of stuff they have on offer, it's well worth looking into. So let me know in the chat if you're keen. 73 Matt, thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah, I love doing this. I love the community. I love the chatting. I love the conversation. It's all to you guys because you're helping me with the riffing. You know, you give me an idea, a suggestion to look at something. It's up to me to find something to give my thoughts on it, and I think it's easy. The Urban Jurgensen 1 stainless. I haven't discussed it. What should I do? Let's have a look at it for everyone in the chat. And I would really like to get to this Watches of Knightsbridge section. Urban. I am useless with spelling. Jorgensen, and it's called 1 stainless. So it has, I do like, okay, this is a brand that I haven't followed for sure. I haven't covered. One thing that just grabs me in a second is the way they've done the hour hand. So nice and clean. Also like the casing. It's actually it flows very well. Where's a good, give me a good picture. Come on. Once again, when you get to these higher brands, all of a sudden they decide not to give you a high res. There we go. Immediately what catches me is the flow between the case, the bracelet, the way it all comes together. That's very good. It's a gorgeous looking watch. Really does look cool. I need to look at them. I need to actually put a hallmark down and cover these watches because the layout is very well designed. Just seeing how the bracelet interconnects with the case, the pushes, there is this feeling of flow between the watch head, the bracelet. Gorgeous looking watch. Thank you for the suggestion, Shannon. Let's see. I enjoy your thoughts and the channel's content. Thank you, Bounce. That's a pleasure. Jag Jet, it's a pleasure. I try my best. It's hard to keep up with the chats. Rolex Hulk, GMT2, Pepsi. I'm sure many know that I'm not a fan of the Hulk, just because the green is too green. It's a little bit too much in your face. I would, if it was me, if I had the choice between those two, I would get the GMT Batman. GMT Batman or Batgirl, actually. GMT Batgirl is the one that I would pull. Just because, and I've said this a few times before, it's down to, the great thing about the Batman is that the black and the blue represent the day and the night sky. It's a much more practical color format for a GMT. And so the black from 6 in the evening to 6 in the morning, and then from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening, perfect day and night sky. Looks awesome. Looks so good. Pinot Noir, peanut of the night. No, it's great. It's great. Just sticking with this. AP is awesome. Bottle of scotch, standby, not coffee. Thank you, James. No, I'm sticking to wine tonight for a change, just to mix it up a little bit. Anyway, I want to try and pull this catalog together so we can have a look at everything. Let's see. Adrian insists on drinking coffee. Nothing to do with cultural appropriation, Clive. It's got to do with caffeine is good for energy. Caffeine keeps you up. Remember, Clive, it's 1 in the morning here in the UK, and I'm doing this. So if it was early morning, then it'll be a lot easier, but you know. Okay, so just running through this catalog. Let's have a look at some of these pieces. Really dig the brown dial of this. And if you haven't seen Watches of Knightsbridge, I highly suggest you have a look. They have full online page for you to look at. You can download the PDF that I'm going to be scrolling through for free. And it's about 160 pages. They've got a whole range of pieces to look at. What are your thoughts on this piece with the crazy dial? I don't know if it works as well as the standard. I think the standard is just, you want to keep it simple. I know there's a big appeal for these pieces though. What I love is that the photography really covers all the details. You know, this watch has been scratched like, I mean, look at the bezel. Jeepers. You don't see that every day on an AP. This watch has been worn, right? Clocks go back tonight, I know, and that means that we probably have to have another hour, an extra hour on this page. So I'm going to have to try and stay energized. Mid-size, I don't think we're very keen on. As we get to the end of this, we will start seeing more sports pieces. Gorgeous little Breguet. Breguet does some amazing stuff. Let's see, I'm just getting back to the comments now. Opinion on the Kari Vutalolit. No, geez, Tim Mosso, it's too late for that now. It's been 2 hours of me doing these crazy things. Oh, there's a question here I saw. The big question, why is Rolex holding off Daytona? Everyone address that question in the comments. It's all down to, oops, PDFs. Whoa, what is going on here? Oh dear. Hope you guys don't have epilepsy. The screen just had a big jump. Don't know why it did that. We get to some vintage Breitlings. Gorgeous looking pieces. These images are so high res, I think it kind of affects the screen. And this is a 5K Mac that I'm running off. Nice looking Navitimer. There's so many watches to go through, so I'm just going to flick through them and get to the pieces that we're interested in seeing. So all of these watches are available on auction. Some Octavias. These are cool. I think this is the Joseph Octavia. Gorgeous looking watch. Horned lugs. Let's see if I can catch up with these. Going to need to send you some good French or Australian wine. James G. Arthur. I'm drinking South African wine. It's to everyone's taste. You know, I grew up in a land where there's some awesome wine, and yeah, it's gorgeous. Australian wine I also love. Australian wine is a real favorite of mine as well. A shot in the dark. What do you think of the salmon dial white gold Royal Oak? Let's pull that up. That's cool. Very cool looking watch. And I mean, all it takes is just a little bit of color. Not a lot of work, a little bit of color. And you can make a real, I mean, these look orange almost on the screen, right? Let's get some, I mean, that doesn't look right at all. Let's see. It's just a nice, charming finish to the watch. It's not everyone's tastes, of course, but it's gorgeous. I think the contrast is nice. It just adds a little bit of extra. I mean, everyone knows what a jumbo Royal Oak looks like. Oh, this is actually a replica. Can you believe? How's that? Very well done. Here we go. Everyone knows what a jumbo looks like. Everyone knows what a blue dial is. So having this little grab of a different color, it's cool. It's not everyone's taste. I think the Perpetual does it even better. These are very rare, if I'm not mistaken. Very hard to find. Interesting looking watch. It's not up my alley. It's not something that would really grab me, but it's pretty cool. Beads of Rice. Clive is chatting out real sports piece. Let's see. Any car watches up for auction. Let's have a look. I need to get back to this. I haven't actually run through the catalog at all, so you're all seeing this for the first time. Interesting. Which would you choose between these two? I think the orange just has that extra grab. The blue is the iconic color. And what happened was, if you know about Steve McQueen and the Tag Heuer, or the Heuer Monaco for Le Mans in the film, this was technically the watch that he was supposed to wear for the film, because Joseph was racing the same Porsche as Steve McQueen. If you haven't seen, did I say Le Mans? Yeah. In the film Le Mans, Steve McQueen was supposed to be wearing this watch, but he didn't. Lots of other Octavias around. Great looking pieces. Now we have more vintage styled Monacos. Love the colors. Love it. And I think, is this a PVD or was this just a standard brushed gray dial? Interesting. Interesting looking watch. There's so many watches on show here, so I'm sure we'll have a long time looking at all of these. Ladyboy scavenger hunt. Yeah, I'm not looking at that. So scrolling through, let's have a look at some more of these pieces. Let's see. Now we get to the more original Monaco pieces. I just love it. Love the styling. It's not to everyone's taste. And I think, again, it was a race to see who could bring out the watch first. And it was a very up in the air decision to create a square case. But it is the iconic watch of the time. It's one of those watches paired with the El Primero. Looks great. Getting back to the comments. Everything, including our comments, are pre-recorded. Yeah, exactly. There was a question about, are we still live? Yes, Derek, we are still live. And I don't know how long it's technically 1 o'clock here. I don't know if the clocks have gone back yet. I don't know when I think it's at 1 o'clock. The clocks remain for another hour. I don't know. And then we have some Hoya Carreras. Can't go wrong with these pieces. I love the black dials. Love the simple layouts. Let's get back to this. Gorgeous little watch. Let's see. Just woke up. Thank you for joining us, Derek. I don't know why clocks change at a certain... I mean, Enzo, I've been trying to work it out. I've always thought it was midnight, but it's not. It's you know, hours and time delays and everything else. I think the added hour might be good for everyone who's just waking up on the East Coast and wanted to join, which will be cool. Oh, and here we go. This is the watch I really enjoy. Love it. This is just such a nice blend of industrial design, dive watches. Oh, killer. So if anyone who doesn't know, this is the Porsche design IWC Ocean. Gorgeous looking piece. It also comes with a textile strap and everything. And it's planned to be going between 5,500 and 7,500. Looks great. Love it. Interesting, Clive. I don't know how the times work. Anyway, let's see. Mr. Marcus is leaving a comment requesting a live chat with IDGuy and Craig Ship. I'd love to chat to Craig. It would be cool. But again, you know, our approaches to things are different. And I think what I try and do is, oh, wow. Now we get to the real stuff. What I like to do is really hone in on watches just in general. I don't like to specify that one is good and one is bad and one's ugly. I mean, I do have my reservations about certain watches, but I try and be a bit more open with my interactions, where I know Craig is very much a stickler to certain brands. And I don't know, I enjoy just the roundedness of it. That is so cool. I love the characteristic no radiations. If you haven't seen, I did a live stream. I put a video up earlier this week, I think on Tuesday, all about Blancpain, Aqualung, 50 Fathoms. I cover it all. So all of these pieces are in it. Such a cool history. These watches were so important to dive watches. This watch especially just helped establish dive watches, and such a gorgeous piece. Daylight savings are the worst. Yeah, right. Blueshot Buddha, thank you so much for the super chat. Don't forget to like this live stream before you go. Yeah, I don't know how long this is going to be going on for. Still 120 minutes. So we're officially now 2 hours in. So yeah. So we'll see how it goes. See how I feel. Just enjoy the show. We're kicking back, looking through this catalog, looking at all these pieces. There's some insane watches out and around. This is an Lange and Sohne. Can you believe? A Navigator's observation watch from 1942, Type A dial. Look how clean that is. Back in the days when the world was against itself. Anyway, keeping up with the chats. Let's see, what am I missing here? 2 a.m. clocks go back in the UK. Thank you for the comment. Yeah, it's strange. Such a strange thing. I've never understood it. And again, I'm new to the Northern Hemisphere, so of course I'm missing out. They're hand hearts, some Movado chronographs, Dirty Dozen. Oh, no, these are not Dirty Dozen. These are just the standard W12, W10s and G10s and the whole deal. Love it. Here's a Dirty Dozen piece. The Omegas are one of the most sought after, if I'm not mistaken. Gorgeous little pieces. It's amazing how many are still around. And they're saying that this Grana here is the rarest of all of them, having been ordered by the MOD in the fewest numbers, approximately 1,000 to 1,500. These watches were just so important to field watches. We've discussed that at length in the past, so I don't think we need to go into that in any more detail. Stunning watches, though. Oh, geez, look at this. Complete set. How cool is that? James, if you're interested, 35,000 to 40,000 pounds. You get the full Dirty Dozen set, and they all look immaculate. Oh, that's one hell of a collection. That's cool. You should have a box just for these. Check that out. Have you ever seen a full set for sale before? Too cool. Derek Hollyfield says, you should do a 24-hour show, the 24 hours of Le IDGuy. That's so funny. No, I can't imagine what would happen. I'd be out by 4 hours, I think. The world is tweeting against itself. Very good, Cheeton. That's very much the case. We'll be up to see Wales versus South Africa. That's going to be cool. Chatting about the rugby again. Hell of a game. Congratulations to England. They did. I mean, honestly, I went in thinking it's going to be a very fair game. If you know anything about rugby and the sides, both coaches are New Zealand, are from New Zealand. And Eddie Jones, he's coached the world-winning side. And he just did the England side. I was thinking it was going to be very fair, very balanced between the two sides. But England absolutely smashed it. They brought, I mean, when you think about it, they're up against, the dream right there. When you're up against the world's best, if you know anything about rugby, you know New Zealand is the world's best. The nerves for a semi-final. The fact that England just, I mean, it's bad to say, but they made New Zealand look like amateurs in the way they performed. And I was very disappointed, actually. I expected it to be fair between the two sides. And then with Nigel Owens as the ref, he's such a brilliant ref. Best in the world. Love the guy. But England just absolutely decimated. Brilliant. Excellent playing. I was for both sides. I enjoy watching both sides play. League versus Union, I love Union. I've only just recently started watching Union rugby, and I love it. So what else was I going to say? Oh, and geez, tomorrow, Wales versus South Africa. I am South African, for those of you who are new here. And all I'm saying is we're getting a French ref. So we don't know. I'm not holding thumbs. But just watching the game today, England deserved what they did. They played so well, played their hearts out under serious pressure. And they did such a good job. New Zealand just couldn't recover. Anyway, it's a very, I mean, just watch. It's a game well worth watching because the strategy, the fact that they just stuck on them throughout the game was very impressive. And for those of you in America who don't watch rugby at all, I'm sure this is still going over your heads, but we have some cool watches to look at while it's going. This is a Seamaster Deep Blue. Too cool. Love the colors. Love the sword hands. Why can't they just bring out more sword hands on their watches? Is it so difficult? You know, it's not rocket science. Solid sword hands. No skeleton hands. Makes a big difference. Let's have a look at what else. And now we're jumping to the real stuff. I love these pieces. Let me just get back to the chat. Dox's subs. Yeah, really cool. Really enjoyed the match. England versus Wales in the final, 73 map. You might be right. The South African side, they're new. They're new players this year. New team. The coach is great. For a bit of background, Rassie Erasmus is a very good coach. But it's going to be rough. And a lot of our players, a lot of the South African players are injured for various reasons. So I don't know. Don't have strong hopes, but it'll be great to see them win. It'll be great to see England and South Africa in a final. Be a lot of fun to watch. I love the Speedmaster. I love this blue dial, pre-moon. So what do they call it? They call it a Soleil dial. Between 20 and 30,000, this piece is expected to go for. It looks like it has the original crystal, but for the example, it has a replacement on it. Colors look great. Talking about Dox's subs. It's another watch I really need to cover in the future. Great history. And also Zodiac. Zodiac and Blancpain pretty much pioneered the dive watch, and they've got a lot of history. Yes, I do watch American football from time to time, a shot in the dark. Especially, what do they call it, the main games? Oh, geez, I'm not good with the terms, but I enjoy it. American football is, it's very different. What I love between American football and rugby, you'll be surprised, but a lot of players jump between the two sports because they are so different. It's the strategy involved that I love about American football. American football is much more about sprint. You know, it's a flash in a pan, where rugby is a bit more about endurance. You don't have quarters, you don't have downs, none of that. It's pretty much just advantage, and then the game just keeps going. There's no stoppage, really. unless the ball's kicked out. Look how gorgeous this piece is. Love the brown dials. Between 6,500 and 7,500 for this piece. This is a 1970, so it's got an 861 movement. Love the chocolate dial. Gorgeous looking pieces. And this on the left is a 68. Extract from the archives, 321. Look how clean this watch is, apart from the bezel. Bezel's a bit destroyed. Love it. Speedmasters just have a place in our hearts, I think. They always are going to have just some impact. Super Bowl. Max, sorry, I'm trying to think off the cuff while still running through this, so apologies. Yeah, so Super Bowl games I love watching, but then there are also the main games that happen, you know, the ones that everyone watches, like we see the Giants playing, whatever else. I'm terrible with the teams as well. I'm trying to learn the Tigers, the Giants, see, now I'm thinking about baseball. I'm useless, tell you. What is my mouse doing? Oh my goodness. Check that out. Nice colors. So I'm just scrolling through this. I'm just chilling, sitting back, running through these watches. Extract from the archives. This is a Gemini. What is that? Gemini 4. Very cool looking piece. Love the blue. I think a blue dial on a Speedmaster needs to be there. Show me the money. We're talking about that's an American football reference. I'm pretty sure, right? Let's see the other comments talking about sport. Exactly, not like soccer. Yeah, football, soccer, however you want to refer to it. I'm really not a football fan. I don't know what it is. I think it's just what I love about the heavy contact sports is that there is no delayed gratification. It's just constant. You know, you just never know what's going to happen. With football, it's much slower. They kick the ball around for 75 minutes and nothing happens. But with Jerry Maguire, that's it, Jimmy, thank you. With rugby and with American football, you just don't know. If there's a fumble, turnaround, touchdown on the other side. With rugby, there's an interception, the ball gets won over, someone breaks through a line and scores. Completely different. I love these rancheros. Again, Clive, if you're still here, Clive, watch Wrangler. You need a ranchero. Get one of these. This is your watch. This is made for you. Is he talking about docks of divers? I like the fact that the chats have slowed down a little bit so that I can like catch up. Aussie rules I need to follow. I want to get back into watching Aussie rules. I must say that just the clothing that they wear and the impact, it's just everything goes and I love it. This is a very interesting watch. The Marine Chronometer, if I'm not mistaken, this is a very fancy quartz that Omega brought out. I think Roger Smith did a discussion about this watch. Apparently, it's the most ridiculously accurate quartz watch in the world. And I mean, just function alone, the battery life dies within 6 months or something because of the accuracy. We see it says 2.4 megahertz. And I guess the regulation is just so ridiculous. One of the most accurate quartz watches in the world, and it's just mad. Gerard, what is this piece here? Gerard Perregaux. These are all 70s pieces. 1975. This is a calculator LED. I'm sure many of you guys know these from the past. Pulsar. I don't know. Oh, wow. I'll be jumping to a Rare Ladies Patek Nautilus. I do like the two-tone. I think it's quite charming. Let's see. So this is the one that everyone's talking about. This is what was on the cover. This is a jumbo. They expect it to go between 70 and 90,000 pounds. It's mad. That's absolutely mad. Check the aging on that dial. Check the tarnishing. Looks like it's been pretty worn in its life. My neighbor drives a Ford Ranchero. Grandpa drove a Ranchero. Citizens World Series. Yeah. That's cool. Rich Buddy's on. Nice to see you, Rich. I think you were here earlier. I don't know. This is all just turning into a blur, you know? Come on, mouse, work with me. So what do you guys think about the all gold? Again, this is supposed to be about steel watches, but what the hell? There's a question about the Zenith El Primero on leather or bracelet. I would go leather any day for the El Primero. This is what I really like. Cream dial. These numerals just get me. I think these numerals look great on a Daytona, on any Rolex actually. And just jumping to that quick, once again, for anyone who hasn't seen this already, whoa, what's going on here? Now we've got this page up. This is the Rolex that Francis Chichester wore when he circumnavigated the world in the 60s, when he sailed across the world. Look how good that dial is. They don't actually know the reference to this watch exactly. They think it's a 1003 or a 1007. But why can't they create more Oyster Perpetuals with dials like this? Simple numerals, clean. Looks too cool. It's one of those watches that just pulls me in. Love it. Getting back. Gorgeous looking watch. Imagine having more Oyster. I mean, those watches, that Oyster Perpetual would go in an instant if it came out with that kind of layout. So clean and simple. I think Rolex just needs to think back to what made their stuff so good in the past. Yeah, clasp looks great. Should I bring it up again? Just hold it on the screen a little bit longer. Let's see. Geez, I love these coordinations. So it's just a standard Jubilee, but the bracelet does look, the actual clasp looks substantial. Really love the engraving on it. It's a stunning looking piece. I'll just hold this here for a while because it is pretty much wrist porn. Why can they not make more of these? I have to emphasize again. Breitling Aerospace, my only quartz, 73 MAF. Okay, I'll pull it out. It's not a watch that I've really covered, and it's not a watch that really grabs me, but let's have a look quickly. And let's just add quartz to it so it knows what we're going for. What I do like is the layout. I do know this is a very charming part of the Aerospace is the layout, and the fact that it has, the fact that it doesn't have a seconds hand is great as well. I think the black dial works a little bit better than the blue. Pretty sure the blue is the one that everyone goes towards. But for me, I think the black dial looks a little bit better. I do need to cover Breitling a lot more. Needed to go into their Navi timers and everything else in between. Let me just get this Chichester watch up again because it is such a charming piece. Just as we keep running through these, Oyster Perpetual is a knockout. Yeah, it really is cool. If I had to get a custom Rolex made for me, I think this in 36mm with just a standard bezel, not fluted, that would be just spot on. Why can we not find watches like this anymore? Such a classic. Looks so good. And apparently this is one of the only ones. I mean, it's almost like a piece unique in many ways. The fact that this, if you've read the book, A Man and His Watch, Chichester wore this throughout his trip around the world. And the watch came back just the way it arrived. You know, he treated it with such care. This hasn't been refinished. It's pretty much clean. And I know that he wore GMTs and all sorts of stuff too back in the day. But that watch is just a real character. Now we're getting to the more modern reference pieces. Again, we spoke about the 5-digit Polar earlier. I think it's so cool. The Salmon Air King Cheetah. I'm not such a fan of it, actually. And it has the 369 layout, if I'm not mistaken. The Salmon Air King is not... doesn't hook me as much. I don't know. I'd have to see. I haven't seen one in the flesh. Thunderbird bezel, not on this piece. No, the Thunderbird bezel rotating. It would look quite nice on the watch. But on the Chichester model, it's just a standard turned bezel, if I remember right. But I think this Polar Explorer 2 is a real charming piece. And again, we have to have a moment of silence for the Pontiff after selling his. I mean, he was the Polar Explorer. Oh, Victor, good to see you here. Thank you for joining. You've joined us since we've been at this for 2 hours already, so you've missed quite a bit. There have been lots of discussions going on. Anyway, so we're just running through some vintage pieces. If anyone's new and you haven't seen this, I'm running through a catalog by Watches of Knightsbridge. It's a huge auction house in London, and they bring out these PDF catalogs every few months. This is for their November catalog. It's about 160 pages of all sorts of pieces, and we've gotten to Rolex finally. So we're just scrolling through. Yeah, exactly, Dan. I mean, Archie pretty much put the Polar Explorer on the map. Same as he did it for Patek. He's done it for the Reverso. And the Speedmaster. Think about the watches that he's promoted over the years. I kind of dig this. She says that's 73 math. I kind of like the Bamford layout. I don't know. It's amazing seeing these being made. The actual craft that goes into, I don't understand that. That doesn't look good at all. But the amount of work and effort that goes into filling these, it's amazing. There's actually YouTube videos that you can watch of the process of how they engrave these. The texture, whether they paint fillet or whether they fill it with a different material, stunning. I like the color of the dial. It's quite cool. I'm not such a fan of these though, these PVD deep C's and everything else. And then we jump to a Kermit. I guess this didn't go in their last lot. Looks pretty cool though. Just catching up with some of these. Talking about Bamford, actually, I'm doing a video next week all about artisanal Rolex. So that should be pretty cool. And just keep your eyes out for that. What I think of the Rolex Wimbledon dials. And for anyone who is in America, it's not Wimbledon, it's Wimbledon. Just to cover that in. Let's have a look at one of those. Let's pull it up. It's not Wimbledon, Wimbledon. It's a crazy name. I think what appeals to me more, actually, this really doesn't hook me at all. I mean, when I thought of this dial, I immediately thought of the Masters Rolex that they tend to premiere. It's quite nice having the baton on the opposite side of the date. It's a nice balance. The green, I don't know, I like the gold coronet. It's nice and clean. The green, though, I don't know. There's better dials out there. And the one that really hits me, if I can just remember, let's see if I can find it. Rolex Masters. What is the piece? Yeah, I love this. It's a day date green dial. What is the reference number? I'm useless, I tell you. I think this is a better execution of the dial format that you just mentioned. Too cool. Love the numerals. Love the color. Once again, it's olive. Very nice. But I don't know. I can't remember the reference. Masters day date. If I pull it up properly. Oh, geez. I love it when there's just zero help. Anyway, let's get back to this before we lose track completely. So the Kermit, I prefer the Kermit over the Hulk. I think it's a much better combo. The Hulk Submariner is a little bit all over the show. I don't know. Got lots of reservations about it. I'll probably discuss it in a future video, I'm sure. I much prefer that Tudor approached the idea of the bezel with a more olive finish. I think it works a lot better. Let's see. Wimble, we don't care. Thanks, Clive. Yeah, it kind of makes me twitch when people say Wimbledon, and I don't know. I guess I'm a tennis guy, so it kind of hits me. I just love these Tudor subs. These snowflake subs, just something else. Such characters. Love the color. Love the color. Cheetown, thank you for the reference. A 228235, if anyone's interested. Yeah, the Kermit. I think the Kermit's just a little bit more toned down, a little bit simpler. You don't want to watch that screams out loud. I don't know. That's just Rolex has always been about subtlety for the most part with a lot of their pieces. I love the photography of these. I mean, you can just zoom it in full screen and you have this beautiful. The finishing's great. Love these snowflakes. They're gorgeous. And then we jump to the more. Is this Marine Nationale? This is a 9401 from 76. Could very well have been a piece probably used by the American Navy, if I'm not mistaken. Bought from a rep. Let's see, I'm keeping up with the chats. Clyde, yeah, he's being horrible to me. Term Crapper comes from designed by Thomas Crapper. Yeah, Max D, thank you for that knowledge drop. Funny story about that. Thomas Crapper inventing the toilet. Funny history. Oh, we got a little bit of a chocolate dial 1016 over here from 1966. This is estimated to go from between 10 and 12,000 pounds. Looks a little bit scuffed up. The 1016 as an explorer. I actually mentioned in Archie's show that he should grab a 1016 if he can. So I know it's impossible, but having 5 Pateks, I mean, he could liquidate a few and grab something good. Anyway, we're trying to stick with steel tonight. 1016 is a gorgeous watch. I think it's such a character. Love the size. And we have a few more. We have a Piguet toner on the right. Very, very nice. But these watches have really been worn, hey? Yeah, he sold a 1016 Clive. That was his watch. I mean, remember, I think it was an 89 model that he was talking about. Too cool. Let's see, this is a 1960 on the left, between 10,000 and 12,000 for this piece. Oof, I don't know, the 1016 has such a charm to it. And the pre-day toners, I might be in the minority, but I'm not so hot for the pre-day toners. They look a little bit World War II-ish with the telemeter scale and everything else. It's a little bit strange. This is expected to go between 18 and 22,000 pounds. Crazy. And then we jump to our GMTs. What the heck happened here? 1963, 1675, with no end link. It's just a direct. That's strange. You don't see that very often. Between 10 and 12,000 pounds for this piece. The 1675 is so charming. It just is the epitome of the Pepsi GMT. I think it works so well. Rolex 114270 or the 16 Blue Dial Explorer OP. I think it's really up to personal preference, Clive. I think the Blue Dial is great just for a bit more punch. The thing is, with a standard Explorer, is black dial can get really boring, but it's great. It's very versatile. With a Blue Dial, you have a nice splash of color. I love your Explorer dial, Oyster Perpetual. Gorgeous. You've got a really nice pair. Thank you for sending them to me the other week. And then we jump to a more recent, this is a 73 1675, the Mark II matte dial, between 10 and 12,000 pounds. So it's not ludicrous money for these watches when you consider everything. But it has been, geez, I don't know why my screen's acting up. It has been worn out a little bit in a few places. Nice to see that it hasn't been polished, though. You can still see the bevels on the lugs, which is nice. So that's pretty cool. Oh, Fauzi's in the house. Good to see you, Fauzi. Nice to have you here. We've been going on this for 2.5 hours at this point, and since it is daylight savings tonight in the UK, I thought running an extra hour might be quite cool. We're just sort of toning it down, running through the Watches of Knightsbridge catalog. Jason, thank you for joining. It's good to have you guys here. And then we're just running through some GMTs. Let's see, standard black dial, between 9,000 and 11,000 for this piece, 1978. And this is a 1986 piece, between 6,000 and 8,000. Prices are pretty reasonable. I guess this is what they're expecting. And this is a 1680 sub. Look at the photography of these pieces. This is what I love so much about this catalog. Watches of Knightsbridge just managed to pull it out of the hat with the photos. Victor's saying that people are paying so much for GMTs now. It is mad. And just the hype for steel pieces has just gone out of the window. It's ridiculous. Speaking of collections, Victor, I would love to have a look at your collection. I still don't know what you have, and I think it'd be so good to cover just the crazy watches you own. I would love to see them. And then we go back to our subs. We have a 79 55 13 on the left, and on the right we have an 81 55 13. Oof, killer. Love the photography. Look how clean it is. So nice and easy to see. I'm sorry about the screen glitching out. I don't know why it's doing that. I think it's because it's so high res. I think the PDF is like 500 megs in size, so it's kind of glitching in a few places. Finishing's nice and clean. It has been polished before by the looks of things. Nice and clean. But then you look at the scratching on these cases. Oh, I don't know. What are the prices they're expected to go for? Between 8,000 and 10,000 for both. That's pretty impressive. I think that's just that's a very low ball estimation, wouldn't you say? Let's see, Rich Buddy. Sorry, guys, I'm missing some of your chats here. I got a call. I've been waiting all year for a Patek 80. He called me on the 5168G. Jason Feller. I don't even know what that is, so I'm going to look it up because I'm trying to learn my Patek references. Let's pull it up quick. 5168. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to take a wild guess and say it's an Aquanaut, and I might be completely wrong. Oh, yes. I got it right. That is so good. I'm so happy for myself. 2 hours of doing this, and I finally got it. Gorgeous watch. We spoke about this earlier, and I said that the olive drab the olive finished Aquanaut, the one on the left, I would have in a heartbeat. Love it. This piece is just the hand grenade, whatever you want to call it. It's so cool, so versatile. This watch won the show for me when it was released in 2018. I can't remember when it was brought out. Love it. Love the colors. Let's see. Clive, would I like to review your collection? I would, Clive. I just know that you have about 600 watches, so it'd be quite difficult for me to follow through. I'm so glad I guessed it was an Aquanaut. I'm finally learning these references. I'm getting there, slowly but surely. Don't know. The blue dial's cool, but the green dial, I'd be interested in knowing just what it'd be interesting if someone could comment on in the chat what the demand is like for these olive pieces. I'd be very interested in knowing just how ridiculous it is to find one of these. I'm sure they are true unicorns. Anyway, getting back onto some gorgeous subs. Get a 9F GMT. It's a cool looking piece. 600 watches now. What are my plans for 2020 to 2022? For the next 2 years? Is that how long it'll take me to review a collection? Yeah, I don't know, actually, Clive. I don't know where my life's going to take me in the next few years. I'm very much just swinging and hoping that something hits. They call this a very rare stainless steel Greek military Rolex, Oyster Perpetual, 1972 5513 with a feet first serif dial. Wow, that's very, oh, this is the serif bezel. Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know why the screen is flashing like this, but if you guys do have epilepsy, I really do apologize. Patek isn't going to be making more of those. Yeah, no. I would have an industrial accident to get a 5168 green, the grenade. Love it, love it. Am I married, Hans? It's very personal. No, sir, I'm not. I'm not married. I'm enjoying the single life a lot. I think I've had a few relationships in my time, and at this point in my life, get away from the complications as much as possible and just enjoy the single life. It might change. I don't know. Keeping things simple. This is a 1988 5513 L serial, final year of production. These were killer. There's an awesome video on the platform. I don't know who it was. I can't remember his name, but he has a mint last serial of the 5513 that is so clean, and he bought it originally from the owner, and it's such a gorgeous watch. He talks about it. Anyway, and we have a standard Coke. What's this? Sea Dweller. I think when it comes to Sea Dwellers, this is just the end all be all Sea Dweller. 16600 Swiss only dial. Gorgeous looking watch. Love the layout. Love the Sea Dweller is just the ultimate diving Rolex piece. I think it's so great. By 2022, you'll be screaming that certain watches are shitters. Screaming that, yeah. No, I don't think so, Dan. It might take a bit longer than that. Maybe 10 years from now, I'll start losing it a bit. I don't know what you guys think about these Tudor pieces, but I'm not such a fan of the sub-dial layout. I have no idea why this PDF is flashing like that. It's very annoying. I'm sorry, guys, if it's irritating you. Let's see. English accent for sure. Pick up sounds American. Jason, yeah, my accent is it's a blend between South African and English. South African accent is it's a strange beast. Anyway, get away from the complications in life, but not in watches. Very good advice, Victor. Thank you. Whereabouts are you based in the UK? I was based in Bedfordshire, and now I'm based on the south coast, West Sussex, actually right across the way from Paul Thorpe. I'd love to meet the guy. Be great to catch up and chat. Love to learn. I mean, that's what I love about these pages, these platforms, is that I follow the channels that really provide insight on the subject, just insight when it comes to the market, when it comes to just learning about designs and everything else. Yeah, anyway. Happy wife, happy life. Hans, I agree. Absolutely. It's just hard finding that one woman that really hits all the marks. And it's, it's a competition. It's a challenge. Life, one of life's main challenges, depending on your preference, Why does he always film inside his car? I would imagine he does it because it's easy. The sound is good. There's many things. I mean, I record in my room. My room's quite echoey, but in your car, it's very secluded. I'm sure he does a lot of driving to and from. So Prutz is online. Good to see you, Prutz. Seiko SRP 775. Oh, geez, we're going to be going back into Seikos again. I'll have a look at that just now. I don't know how long the stream's going to go on for. It's been quite a while. We're looking at some vintage Air Kings. They're quite neat. And I think this is the end of the catalog. No, there's another 20 pages. Jeepers, creepers, doesn't stop. Check this out. Pole router, SAS. How cool is that? They find multiple women. Geez. Yeah. So just chatting. Cute Timex. Actually, let's talk about the cute Timex. What the hell? Let's have some fun. And then I will have a look at the Seiko whatever reference. Again, the hand grenade is a gorgeous little Aquanaut. It's so cool. It's the one watch. It's the one Aquanaut that really hits. I'm sure everyone has a Q Timex. I was so close. You know, the relaunch of the new line came out in the UK, and I basically left the link open and went and did something for an hour or two and thought, hey, I'll just come and pick one up, and then sold out again within a few hours. It's ridiculous. I know in the States you can still get them. Anyway, more coffee, Hans. I had a double shot of pretty much espresso. So, Hans, didn't I own an Alpha Paul Newman Data? Yes, I did. I do. I love the watch. It's very much like the more affordable Gevril. It has a mechanical hand wound column wheel chronograph, acrylic crystal. Great. I'll actually wear it in a future video. I like to actually cover it a bit more. So here's some thoughts about the Q Timex. I like the idea that it doesn't take things seriously. It's very much a Pepsi, and the way it approaches. I mean, this was during the time when the 70s craze was high for Pepsi GMTs, and I guess Timex tried to profit off the idea and brought out this piece, and it's just bizarre. I mean, I don't think there's any shame in wearing a watch like this. It's just cool, you know, 70s cool. The fact that they reissued it and the watch turned out so well, it's great. I think it's so cool. It's such a lot of fun. I mean, watches aren't all about being serious. You're supposed to have fun with these things, you know. So Victor, you got it and you don't like it. Yeah, I'm sure it's because of the bracelets and everything else that wouldn't feel that great. What I do like is the fact that they have acrylic crystals and all those little bits and pieces. I know there are a few tolerance issues with the case and that they haven't polished it very well. I think that's pretty poor. If we just look at a generic photo, you can see just how they've tried to pay attention to the brushing in the render, but apparently the brushing isn't very good on the end of the lug in the on the real pieces. So I think for the price they're asking, the attention to detail needs to be improved just a little bit. Let's have a look. Movement and timing is tough. The hand jumps when setting. Oh, geez, I didn't know that. Okay, that's interesting. Thank you for the highlight there. Dan, thank you so much for the super chat. It's a pleasure. I love talking about this. It's been one hell of a watch week for me, actually, when I think about it, because I've been discussing every day for the last I think I've put about 4 different videos up this week, or whether it's audios, whether it's videos, and it's mad. I didn't actually think I'd have the motivation to get on and just discuss watches tonight, but amazingly, seems like the hobby does have me. Anyway, Timex were best when they were made in Scotland. Max D, thank you. I didn't know that was a thing. I really didn't. I thought it was a purely American-based. It is American-based, right? I don't know. Going on to 2 hours of running this, so I'm probably missing a few bits and pieces. So just flicking through some of these, we've got some pole routers and everything else. And I think what we can do, since we are coming up to the 3-hour mark, I want to pull up, once again, get back to our discussion in the beginning, which was about the king of steel sports watches. I'd like to hear your thoughts about what you think qualifies. Just everyone in the chat, not much thinking about it. Just put in an idea about what you think makes for a king steel sports watch. I'm sure because the Royal Oak was the watch that I highlighted at the beginning, you know, as the cover photo for the stream. This is the watch that comes to mind. I think it's a nice character, but then at the same, no, this watch pretty much set the foundation for the so-called sports genre. I think the sub is a very good option. The 116-500 is the king. I guess that's a standard Oyster Perpetual. Very cool. Chocolate Dial AP Royal Oak Chrono 39mm. The Chrono, okay, let's just pull it up again. If I had all the money in the world and I wanted a sports dress piece right now, I'd be grabbing myself an AP Chrono Panda. I think it's so nice, so versatile as an everyday wearer. And I do know that they brought out a new series in 39mm, as you mentioned. What is it, 39? No, it's not. It's 38 or something. It's one of their latest renditions. That is so cool. 38 mils, because APs tend to wear 2 mils bigger than they specify. Such a nice character, such a nice everyday wearing piece. Ease of legibility, yeah, I agree, Jimmy. Proots, I promise to get back to your comment. I don't know. I'm just trying to riff. Don't know how long this has been going for. 2 hours, 45 minutes, just rolling. The Explorer, someone mentions Daytona 50th anniversary. Very nice. Keep jumping around. I'd like to hear more of your thoughts. What do you constitute as the king of steel sports watches? What really pulls your attention, just without much thought? The problem is that only 5 atmosphere water resistant. Absolutely. That's the issue. And you want something that is a bit better, especially if it's going to be an everyday wearing piece. You want something that works. I don't understand why this is aimed at the female audience. I mean, it seems like these AP chronos are being pushed. I think on a male wrist, it looks superb. Look at that. Blue, simple, easy, great. Balanced subdials, that's another thing. We've spoken about that at length before. GMT 16700, Fauzi, I know you love that watch. It's great. Tag Heuer Carrera, I love these. Keep throwing in more suggestions. I think it's great. The Moonwatch is a classic. Yeah, I mean, it's great. I love the fact that we all have our different feelings for what we would like. And I'm struggling to really come up with a resounding, solid answer about what I would constitute as the so-called king. It's down to to thinking what it really consists of. What are you looking for? Are you looking for a watch that is good as an everyday wearer? Is it efficient for the water? Is it efficient for dress occasions? There's so many other things that you can throw around. The Carl F. Bucherer Bicompax Panda annual calendar. Wow, it's a mouthful, Dan. Explorer. I think the Explorer is one of those watches that really does pull home. It's the question of which one, though. 14270 is the one I would go for. I love the 36 mil. I think the proportions are spot on. And that's it, really. I think the idea is you want something that just makes for a great everyday wearer that you're not thinking about. You just put it on and you can just wear without any thought. And the fact that it doesn't get noticed by lots of people. For the price, Submariner is the best. Shout out to Timex. Let's see any more. Seamaster with sword hands. I hope to bring back Tom Austin. I agree. Must be quite early in the morning there, Tom. Thank you for joining. That's too awesome. The 39 mil 214. I think it's great, but I still prefer the 36. I don't know. The proportions just work a little bit better for me, at least. But geez, what they've done with this piece, how they've modernized it, how they just cleaned it up so nicely. The lume, it's such a great piece. And of course, we can look at Omega's version of the Aquaterras, but I think just for the simplicity behind it, I think this watch does take a big cake. The Tudor Snowflake is also a great option, Cheetown. I think it's also superb. Do you like any JLCs in the sports category? Yes, Chris, we've actually looked at the Polaris tonight. We've looked at, I really love the Master Compressor line. I really want them to bring, if JLC contacted me, I would be asking for a Master Compressor style case, bring the scale down a bit on the watch, and just go nuts with a diver or something really cool. Pelagos, Navitimer. It's just amazing. I love this. Everyone has a different take on it, and that's what makes this such a fun exercise. I'd love to emphasize it a little bit more in the future. Let's see, 6750. I'd love to focus on this a bit more and maybe hone in on some more thoughts on people's choices. I think the Polar Explorer, this is another fantastic everyday wearing piece. Simple, easy to use. Check out the Joker. Is that it's a ridiculous looking piece, right? Smith's Everest. I absolutely love the watch. Smiths are a really cool group. And there's going to be hopefully a future collaboration between me and them. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy what comes out of that. Love these creamy dial pieces. I'm not such a fan of this watch on the Jubilee. There's certain watches that work really well in Jubilees and others that deserve oysters. This piece needs an oyster. I think it looks great. Tudor Snowflake, Marmite. I don't know. I love the Snowflake. As a legible sports watch, let me just pull one up quick. What works so well, I've spoken about this a myriad of times, about why this works so well as a functional tool watch. The way that the batons, I need a full dial. The way that the batons, the hands, everything works together. It makes it very easy to read at a glance, which is important. And I think that's the thing. It's the jagged nature of the hands, the batons, the triangles, everything is, harsh, but easy to read at a glance. Whereas when we look at something like a 5513 in contrast, it's much more difficult to read because you have to break your eye up between the circles and the rectangles and the squares. Chetan. Let's see, what did you say? What is the Type 1 Beetle of watches? Ooh, yeah, I love Beetles. I don't know. Very good question. Type 1 Beetle of watches. I'm going to have to give it a think. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I really can't. Very good question, though. The Pelagos is also awesome. I think the left-hand drive. I think this is it here. Left-hand drive is great. I think of Porsche being something along the lines of a Rolex. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to pair watches and cars, but I will love my Smith. Reed, I got an email from Eddie, the owner of Time Factors, and he gave me some drawings of a concept that he's working through, and it'd be a lot of fun if this works out. I won't go anywhere further, but let's just say it's going to be really cool if it works out properly, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I will keep you posted. I'll be sure to review the watch and everything else that happens through the process. Let's see what else. So more questions. Sin 104, Jimmy. I really like. I think it's the Sin 103. So if I remember right, the 104 is just the standard piece. Looks pretty cool. It does look nice and clean. It's a very popular watch in the community. Love the colors. I mean, some with blue dials. That is a killer. Really nice looking piece. The 103 for me, I think, just grabs me a little bit better. That looks gorgeous. How's that for a watch? I'm so tempted to pull the trigger on one of these pieces, actually. And Victor talking about the 15202, that's fantastic. I'm going to just follow up the rest of these comments at the top. So the Zone 103 is my pull, Jimmy, but I think the 104 is just as awesome. OP34 Air King, great. VC Overseas, I love these. Tom Austin, it's awesome. And if you can put the watch on a Jubilee bracelet, I guarantee the Smiths would look good. Jimmy, I'm teasing you guys. I don't want to disclose because it's not been finalized. There's a prototype that I hope to be getting soon, and Hans, Eddie is very screwed on with all of these things. I think he's a military vet, and he basically owns Time Factors, and he really knows what he's doing when it comes to coming up with concept ideas for these Smiths pieces. It's so cool. Can't wait to bring it out for you guys. Let's see, I'm missing a couple of these. Proots, I'm pulling your taffy left, right, and center. Cool news. Picking up the watch on Monday, 15202. Victor, it's an awesome watch. You cannot go wrong with that piece at all. I think the 15202 is just one of those watches. Don't get rid of it. That's one thing I can suggest. I think all of us will suggest. Don't get rid of the watch, because it's one of those things that it's a lifetime achievement award in many ways. Gorgeous. Let's see. Dan Radke speaks. You're right. Did Dan have a guess? I missed the comment. Everyday watch needs to be thin and easy to wear. I agree. Small GI. And there's so many options. I just love the chat, the throw around of the different ideas. Zin is another company I need to cover in detail because they've got some amazing stuff. Just jumping back to Rolex again, the 34 Olive is the one model that I am so drawn to. I would love to get myself one of these pieces. As a first Rolex for me, I think this one is just, it's a killer. Because you want something with some punch, something that's understated, but also has a nice hit. Let's see if I can catch anything else. Congratulations, Victor. Yeah, it's so cool. Victor, really, congratulations. That's one hell of a Lifetime Achievement Award. So Mason's asking about my design deconstruction of the Navitimer. I do think the Navitimer is very complicated in the way it presents itself. Who uses a slide rule? But I will have a look at it. I do want to discuss Breitling at length in the future. I'm actually working on a Panerai discussion, which I hope to bring out soon as well. There's a couple of subjects that I'm running with. One of the most recent ones that I'll be looking at is AP, which is going to be a lot of fun. Talking about why I love and hate AP, running through the design styling and putting my thoughts together about it. Let's see what else is going on. Thomas Burnett. Speaking of Zin, I hung out with Tim Mosso. Yeah, I'd love to meet Tim Mosso. I'd love to be in a situation where I can just sit across from him in a room and just chat about all things. I know he loves his, what's it, a ZUZ, eh? What is the piece? Love these things. This is his go-to watch. I know that he was a big fan of JLCs, and he sold most of them off to buy one of these enforcement watches. I think it's so hardcore. Zin does some awesome stuff with their dials. Just the contrast, the reds, the whites, everything's just easy to read at a glance. I don't know much about the movement and the complication in these pieces, but it's just so hardcore. Tim has a very interesting style. You know, he's the kind of guy, he doesn't have the build, but he could rock, like mentioned earlier in the video, the X Fathoms if he wanted, and he would still be cool, you know. Let's see, Sea Dweller 40 mil. It's an awesome watch, Dan. You're talking about me, my wrist size. It's about it's about 6.75 Hans. It's 7 inches on a good day if I go to the gym. 116600. The Sea Dweller, it pips the Submariner for me in many ways. And this being, this is the model that just peaked before. It's very rare, and I know many people are lusting after it because it is the first Supercase edition, still 40 mils, modern throughout. It's gorgeous. I actually know a friend who has one of these, and he's worn the crap out of it, and it still looks brand new. Gorgeous looking watch. Can I pull off a 34 mil? I can pull off a 36, Hans. I need to try on the 34 mil, to be honest. The 36 mil, I think, is a great contemporary size. It's still good nowadays. 34 might be pushing it for my wrist. I don't know. I'm a fan of small dials. I don't know why. I think it's just because time telling is supposed to be understated, and I don't know. Also love the big watches too. I mean, of course. Everyone's congratulating Victor. It's one hell of an achievement. You need to premiere it somewhere, Victor, because it's going to be so cool. He told me something sad. Like Tim Mosso might be leaving Watchbox soon. That'll be a heavy blow. It really will be, because he made that page. He's made the channel. He's the main head honcho that runs the show, you know. Sure. That's quite a hit of news. Wow. Thank you for that. Why does he wear? I don't know why, Jason. I don't know why that's his preference to wear sunglasses like that. Yeah, Watchbox is doing so well. They've really picked up. It's amazing. I mean, I've been on the YouTube, watching the YouTube scene for, I don't know, since, that's just the dream Sea Dweller right there. I've been watching YouTube since maybe 2014 when it comes to watches. And I remember seeing Watchbox and saying, wow, these guys need subscribers, you know? And then all of a sudden, I mean, now where it's at, they're just booming. There's such a big audience, you know, 80,000 people following them, and it's just fantastic. Victor, my information, here we go. I'll just send in my, what is it? Inquire. If anyone would like to email me, there is my info. He is such a, and Jason, he's such a wordsmith. He's just, I don't know, he's the thesaurus. He's the watch thesaurus. And he's just everywhere. His wrist is on everyone's screens. I mean, there's the watch on his wrist. This is a 5-digit reference. Gorgeous looking Sea Dweller. I think it's so cool. And actually, when it comes to a superb king of everyday wearing watches, I think the 5-digit reference Sea Dweller, something about it. It just pips the Submariner. Just the size, a little bit of extra presence, a little bit of extra heft. It's too cool. So, Carl, nice to have you here. Thank you for joining. I can't believe we've been doing this now for literally 3 hours, everyone. That's insane. That's too cool. And keep putting in the comments what you consider is the crowned king of steel sports watches. This one is one hell of a contender. That's what I can say. Love the 5-digit reference. This tapered case. It just feels, compared to the modern super cases, it feels so much more designed in the way it presents itself, you know? And Jason, being a noob to the hobby, I think is the best thing in the world because there's so much to learn on this page. I mean, YouTube for watches isn't what it used to be. It used to be so small. In 2015, 2014 and 15, it was so small. There was nothing going on. Now there's channels dedicated to dealing, channels dedicated to the market, design. I mean, I try and focus on design of stuff. Anyway, it's just so cool. So Hans, you're wearing your piece. I love it. I think your comment made me pull it up. Gorgeous looking watch. Let's see. I think the steel sub date is king. Thing. That's it. I'm very pedantic with that kind of stuff. I think the way they've done it here, the date integration and the 43 mil Sea Dweller, that the whole idea of putting in a Cyclops and fattening the size, making a two-tone. I don't know who thought that would be a good idea, but why would you do that to the Sea Dweller? Sea Dweller is always supposed to be that performance watch, you know? This just doesn't feel like a Sea Dweller, at least to me. I mean, once again, referring back to tradition and all of that stuff. A 2020 Submariner, I think it's very possible. But again, it'll just be a tapered down case with the new with the new 70-hour power reserve movement. It'll be nice if they brought out some colors, but highly doubt they will. They'll just keep it very plain. Let's see. Yeah, great chats, guys. Thank you so much for the chat. Reverso Tourbillon. That's a great everyday wearing watch. That's awesome. I have sleep deprivation. Yeah, Jason, it's at 4 a.m. for you right now. Oh, because you're just keeping up to everything. There's so many channels. I hope to try and bring something a bit different to the platform, but you know, everyone to their own preference. Check it out. This is a 43 against a 40 mil. They did a good job with the 43, but I think the fattening of it looks a little bit excessive. Again, it's all up to wrist size. Sea Dweller 4000. Oh, it's too cool. Too cool. Any more suggestions on watches that you consider king of steel sports watches that I can pull up since we're on the Rolex train? We've now officially gone over 3 hours, so I think I probably will be calling this a night or a morning, should I say. So let's see, it's 2 o'clock on my watch and it's now 1 o'clock. So we've officially gone back an hour in the UK. It's now technically 1 in the morning here. So strange. I do love the red text. There's something about the way they've addressed the ceramic bezel, the glossy dial, the red. It's simple, elegant. I think it's cool. Okay, Seiko Turtle. Prout, we're going to pull it up. I dig the turtle. And I think what's the version of 6105 is the icon. I think the 6105 is the character that you should gravitate towards. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that Seiko is reissuing them in their Prospex line. I might be wrong. Yeah, they are. I mean, this is cool. This is really cool. I think they were highlighting this a couple of months ago. That is, I mean, this was a time, if you don't know much about Seiko divers, this was a time when they basically found their footing. At first, they pretty much copied the Blancpain Bathyscaphe, How do you say that? Bathyscaphe? I don't know. But by the time they got to this point, the Seiko Willard, whatever you want to call it, they pretty much found their footing and knew what they were doing at this point. And the turtle case pretty much became the icon for them. Too good. The night is young. This is crazy. It's just mad. It's mad that you guys are up, and it's, you know, from all over the world. I think this whole streaming thing is great. The fact that we can all just get together and enjoy the hobby. Speaking of the Daytona, let's just pull it up again. It seems to be a watch that we always tend to gravitate towards. We know that our pal of the community has just managed to get one of these. Victor has just picked up an all black. Was this the one that you wanted, by the way, Victor? Or did you want the Panda and just couldn't get it? How did that all work together? Do you prefer the black on black, or would you go for a Panda any day of the week? Who's in for another Knightsbridge catalog? Yeah, James, we've run through the whole thing tonight, and that'll take another full hour. Hans, that's great. Thank you so much for joining. You've literally been here the entire time, and it means so much. It's so great having this dialogue, this discussion. It's a lot of fun. You wanted the Panda, but I'm still supposed to get the Panda soon. And what will you sell the black on black just to put it towards something else? And Fauzi is also, this Tanku Fauzi is very much interested in a Panda. I know that. Be very interested in hearing. It's just interesting. There's so many variants of Daytonas, and I think that's where it gets a little bit messy. It's just really low res. How can you do that? The photos, I tell you, sometimes they flow so easily, other times it's just a mess. This is such a nice callback to the big red. It's too cool. You grow attached. Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, these are such gorgeous things. How can you sell it? Designed by Tara Tanaka. Thank you for that wristwatch experience. I need to study up more about that. Seiko Prosper versus the Rolex Sub. I made a ridiculous video, a ridiculous claim many months ago about, I can't even remember the reference, the LX, that's it, the Prospex LX. And I basically said, is it a Submariner killer? And long time ago, it must have been about at least 6 or 7 months ago, when I was still learning how to use this page. And it is ridiculous how much feedback the videos, it's at 350,000 views, talking about the Submariner versus the Seiko Prospex. People are very interested in wanting to know that whole thing. And I love the spring drive. I think the whole idea, the concept of the spring drive is really cool. So Chris, if you'd like to see how terrible my videos were a few months ago, just type in Prospex, Seiko LX, and Rolex Submariner, and I'm sure you'll get something. Anyway, Oysterflex Daytona is my favorite. Victor, I've actually tried on an Oysterflex, and it really didn't grab me. I don't find it very comfortable. It's strange. It's really all down to preference. There's something about the channels that it just doesn't hug the wrist as well as I would like. It just feels a little bit off. But that's me. I don't know. Everyone's different. I think the rubber's very soft, but can be very uncomfortable. Prudes, videos are never terrible. Oh, you guys, tell you what. No, I mean, I was really trying to learn how to use the recording software and everything else, and I didn't know what I was doing. Tell you, when it comes to sound and editing and everything, you guys just don't know. Behind the scenes, I try and have little excerpts of what happens behind the scenes in the new videos, because sometimes it just gets so frustrating when it comes to sounding things. Yeah, but Victor, it's strange, right? It's strange that the Oysterflex is not as comfortable as you want. It's not saying that it isn't, but I would just it feels so much better with, I mean, something like a nylon strap would be more comfortable if I had to compare it. But I'm always hot for an Oyster bracelet, something smooth, easy to wear. Jubilees tend to be the bracelets that I prefer more than anything else. Patek rubber is pretty. Derek, I wouldn't know. I've never tried on a rubber strap from Patek, which is quite poor. But again, let's pull up a crazy Aquanaut and just look at that for a little while. I don't know how much longer the stream's going to go on for, but let's just cruise around. And why is it that whenever you look at these high-end brands, you get low-res pictures? Actually, here's a nice combo. No, it's not very good. Let's see. What's everyone's favorite Aquanaut? The red dot. No, what is this? The red Aquanaut for Singapore. I can't remember. Can't remember what this was for. For a charity, I think, if I remember right. I do what I don't. Okay, there are parts that I like and don't like about the Patek rubber strap. Is that I think it's quite strange how you have to cut it to fit the size on your wrist, and the way the clasp integrates, I think could be a little bit more substantial. The way it works basically is you hook up two sections on either side, and I don't know, you kind of want something a bit more substantial, and that's where I think the Daytona with the rubber strap works a little bit better, because you have that solid clasp. I mean, look at that. I think that's stunning. You want a bit more security, I think. That's one area that I don't really like about the Patek. But what I do like is the fact that they're so minimalist with the way they've approached just how the clasp mechanism works. It's very clever, very simple and clever. Oh, the Singapore exhibition. Okay, thank you, Jason. Thanks for that. Too cool. I loved your original JLC pronunciation. Yeah, I'll probably have to rehearse it a few more times to get it right again for you guys. I don't want to embarrass myself, but yeah, it took a day's worth of practicing. I can tell you that much. The names of these watch brands, I struggle. Trust me, believe me, I struggle. Oh, but I just love this green piece. I'm not a fan of the bracelet on these Aquanauts. I'm interested in knowing your thoughts. I think they just don't blend. This watch wasn't made for a bracelet. I don't think it's worth putting it on a bracelet, personally. I just don't know. It just doesn't blend anywhere near as well as the Nautilus does, you know? Daytona yellow gold. Oh, it's gorgeous, Jason. So cool. Oyster Flex last 20 years. Wow, that's quite a statement. Amazing. Let's see. If you'd like to ask me a question, if you can just tag me at IDGuy, it'll be easier for me to read. At the top, use tools, size large, get high-res images. Yeah, cool. I can do that, but then I'll have to probably do that for every image, and it might be a bit of a problem, Mason. Seems like this is okay for the time being. We're going to be closing off in a second anyway. Aston Martin Tribute JLC Amivox. I think it's pretty slick. Let's pull it up. I really love the way. One thing that I really dig about these Oyster Flex bracelets, if you want to call them that, is just how they've blended the clasp into it and made it simple. I don't know, from a design perspective, it's not the best. Or should I say, from a design perspective, it's not. It's a very affordable approach to creating a watch, selling a watch for a price. I think these Amivox pieces are crazy. And if I remember right, you push the glass to adjust the chronograph, if I'm not mistaken. It's so slick. I think it looks awesome. I'm just trying to keep up with the chats. Let me just pull this a bit closer for everyone. I think they did a great job here with these pieces. And this is for the Aston Martin, I'm pretty sure. Might be wrong. This could be for, no, it is. This is for Aston Martin. They did a few of these collaborations back in the day. Patek strap's definitely not as good as Rolex. Rolex is by far the best in the market. And I think it's the titanium core that also makes the difference. Adds a little bit more heft to it. And rubber B straps, yes. Fauzi, very good. Rubber B and Everest straps, I think, are excellent value for money. Very good material. Aquanaut belongs in rubber, yeah. The Oyster Flex strap was tearing at the fins. Wow, Victor. That's what bugs me. The whole reason, and this is something we can take away from this discussion after 3 hours of the stream, the whole idea behind watches, they're the one product that's supposed to be built to last, right? The whole idea of obsolescence should not factor in with watches. That's what makes them so good. That's why I love them so much. From a product design perspective, obsolescence is the devil in this field. And the fact that watches stick to being able to last for generations is great. So putting a watch on a rubber strap that's going to corrode and break, it just baffles me. When I think that you get so much more life out of a watch that has a steel bracelet, for example. And just from a business proposition, when you're in the manufacturing industry and everything, you want people to replace things. It's like cars with tires. You want to replace cars' tires, and it's just an excellent business model. You can create a business just around selling rubber straps because you know they're going to break and degrade over time. It would be awesome if they did some fancy trick with nylon and try to blend it in to help the lasting of the rubber straps. It's frustrating. It actually bothers me. The whole idea of a rubber strap on a watch, especially ones of this price, really bugs me, because I just think of it as a tactical approach to just get more money out of the consumer. It's almost like you want to keep the consumer returning back to you. Perfect idea. Just give it on a rubber strap. It's cheaper to make, and at the same time, guaranteed to wear away and be thrown away, so you have to replace it. And then, of course, you have to cut it to size. You know, it's not just like you can pull out an extension. You have to literally cut away the material to size it to your wrist, and it's like, you know, it's a great business practice. Geez, I'm giving you some insider design industry sort of perspective, you know. Yeah. So I'm just seeing what else is going on. Yeah, thanks, Victor. So I think, Dan, you're saying good night. I think we do need to call this a night because it has been officially 3 hours and 15 minutes. This is by far the longest stream I've ever run. I think the watch wrangler, even Clive, the watch wrangler, has left us this evening, and it's very disappointing. But, you know, you have to just keep trucking. I'm not such a fan of this. It's quite strange. It looks like it's had a piece of it shot out. Anyway, I wonder what watch we should close on tonight as a final call. I think I'll just stick to Royal Oak 15202, just because it's the watch of the evening pretty much. Let's find a good picture, and I'll just look at the last bits of the chats going on. It's a gorgeous watch. Please don't get rid of it, Victor. This is a watch you need to keep. It's a stunning looking piece. It really is great. FP Jaune, I need to do the Chronometre Bleu. There's so many other watches I need to cover. I've got a write-up on FP Jaune still going. Man, guys, this has been one hell of an evening. And I hope you've enjoyed this extended stream. I've tried to keep it interesting and diverse and everything else, but I know it's not to everyone's taste. 15202 is too cool. It's such a cool watch, and I hope to do the watch and AP, the Royal Oak, justice in a future video soon, because it's a watch that I love and I hate very much so, because the design, it's like the perfect marriage. Some days I just don't want to look at it. Other days I think it's the best designed watch ever, and it could be the perfect relationship for someone like a designer who hates and loves lots of little things. I don't know so much about it on gold. I think this watch deserves to be on steel. I think gold is a little bit too much presence. But it's strange. Very retro, modern, too cool. I can't believe you guys have stayed throughout this, and it's a pleasure. It's such a pleasure having you here, and I hope to do it again. I'll see how I am next week. You know, it's all down to time and preparing and everything else. I'm trying to keep up with the actual write-ups and the videos in between. But this is sort of like a relax. It's a time for me to sit back and just enjoy the collaboration and the chatting between everyone else. It's awesome. Such a stunning watch. And I think the proportions, again, of this watch, they nailed it, and they need to keep it like this. Anyway, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this off and pull up the screen and stop sharing, just so we can chat a bit more. We can close off just talking through what's been going on. I'm sure everyone's going to be logging out now. But thank you, everyone, for joining. And if I missed anyone's chats and comments, wasn't intentional. I'm really struggling to keep up with the chats while it's all going on. Pierre, thank you so much for joining. Small GI, I hope I got to a lot of your questions. It's really been great. It's so nice doing this. Thomas Burnett, you're a legend. I need to reply to your email. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to be replying to emails. I've dedicated today I'll be replying to emails later. I'm not going to do any work. I'm just going to reply to lots of emails and enjoy it. And yeah, it's been great. You guys have been great. And the fact that there's still 90 people watching and listening is too cool. So everyone, I think I'm going to cut it here. But thank you so much for joining. 3 hours, 20 minutes. I think we've really nailed it this time. This is one hell of a stream. I didn't expect it to go this long, but good luck to South Africa in the rugby. That's going to be a mess. But I look forward to watching it. I'll probably watch it at about 11 o'clock or so. But guys, thank you once again. I'm sure you want to join Mark and Clive on their stream. They have a lot of interesting stuff to say. It's been a pleasure. You guys are great. And I will be sure to bring out a video again next week, maybe another audio, and just keep the truck rolling and reply to your comments. As always, Jamie, thank you so much. But again, thank you everyone for following and for following what I do and for enjoying what I do. It's a pleasure bringing this to you, and such a lot of fun. Watches are about fun at the end of the day. So yeah, that's it for the evening, everyone, or the morning, wherever you are in the world. Have a great Sunday or Saturday. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers for now.